answered my prayer with the Big Oak Ranch. Who would that 9-year-old be if she never came to the Big Oak Ranch? I would be trying to fight for survival instead of fighting to break the cycle.
Big Oak Ranch, a Christian home for children needing a chance.
A Florence man is under arrest and facing animal cruelty charges. 20-year-old Nathaniel Brewster was also found to be in possession of marijuana. Police were alerted to the animal cruelty after a video involving a dog was posted by Brewster on social media. The dog has now been placed into the Florence Lauderdale Animal Shelter. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is awarding grants for behavioral health services to expand within the Wiregrass region and to do so through telehealth. The grant money will be distributed among 12 agencies already serving in that area. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier. Having their job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. The ugly truth is when you buy a timeshare, you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. I recently helped a couple that had their maintenance fees go from $800 to $3,200 a year. They also received a $4,000 assessment for a hurricane that was over 1,000 miles away. Sound crazy? The crazy thing is, this never ends. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. Call 800-462-3333. That's 800-462-3333. 800-462-3333. The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
But beyond that, you have to teach people how to de-escalate circumstances. De-escalate. So instead of anybody coming at you, the first thing you do is shoot to kill, you shoot them in the leg.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling it online, Joey Clark Live. Gotta love a lesson in deterrence from Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Don't mess with his family, the FBI will arrest you. Especially if you're a hooker that took too many payments from Hunter. They'll come after you, especially if you're Russian. Anyway, there's plenty to get to today, but I want to begin the show, as we always begin on Wednesday, with some great 1819 News guests, starting with Jeff Poor, the editor-in-chief there at 1819 News. Hey, Jeff, how you doing today?
Doing well, Joey. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. And, of course, folks, he's also the host of the Jeff Poor Show, which was broadcasting live from Montgomery there in Goat Hill. Any memorable, notable scuttlebutt going on today?
Well, as you might have seen on 1819 this morning, we're getting it kind of past what I thought was going to be the stalemate that would kill the so-called comprehensive gambling bill. That I thought that the Senate would just balk and walk away from it, but it turns out the Senate's going to get engaged they're going to appoint some conferees. They're going to go to conference committee, and they're going to work on the differences between the two bills, the two gambling bills. Now, I'm still very skeptical of the prospects of gambling this session, but it's not dead. It's back on life support. It has been brought back from the dead, but for how long remains to be seen. But I kind of talking to members about that, and they seem somewhat optimistic but very reserved on giving me any sort of prognostication on it.
Yeah, so I mean, I tend to. What is it? Chris Elliott just did an interview with Dale Jackson, right? And I've been saying since this session even got going, I don't think it gets across the finish line unless something big has changed with the interest in this state.
Right. Well, how many times have we heard this before in our lifetime, Joey? About just a year. I mean, they came close in 1999, but the thing that's different from what Senator Elliott had said that's different today is that the Senate is going to at least go through the motions here, because before Greg reached that they were going to appoint conferees, it did look like the Senate was just like, well, we're just not interested in even having a negotiation. We're too far apart, and we're stretched too thin with only 10 days to go in the session. We're just not going to take this up. But it turned out they're going to take a look at it.
And now I also saw the Senate just passed a bill changing the State Committee of Public Health and how the state health officer is appointed. Is this kind of what conservatives have been hoping for since the whole COVID regime?
I'm surprised that it moved through. I'll tell you what the difference is here, that in the past it's been tried by Sam Gavan, a very good senator, very conservative, but the way the medical community looks at things in this state, and they wanted a doctor, and they think that there's a very differential to the legislators who have the medical degree. Tim Melson, the health committee chairman, kind of taking this up. It's not as aggressive. It's a compromise, which we're told is a virtuous thing. But I think it's going to change the way. It's going to take some of the power away and put some of the responsibilities on elected officials.
Well, and any step in that direction, I think is all right. Now, have you heard anything about the administrative leave of Police Chief Darrell Albert here in Montgomery? I suspect, me being local, and I haven't heard anything, and I've asked a few sources. Seems everybody's being fairly tight-lipped about this, but is it wrong for me, and it's not just me, it's other publications, speculating this might have to do something with the whole Renee Hilton accusations against the chief?
That's a speculation. I don't know. I haven't heard. It's funny, Joey. The Mobile police chief also on administrative leave as of yesterday. But what does this do for, the only question I have is, these guys are doing bad stuff or something that needs to be reviewed, and fine. But I guess the question I would have is, what does this do to morale within the department? What is this? What do the rank and file officers, when they see something like this go down, what's their reaction? Is this the best thing for public safety? Just an honest question to ask. What is the bottom line impact here?
Well, my biggest worry, and I'm not just picking on Montgomery, though they don't like me very much, I think, ever since I interviewed Renee Hilton, but any police department, my big worry is when you're having trouble recruiting, when the pay, it's all right for somebody, especially starting out in their early 20s, but it's still a very risky job for not as much pay as you would think. This is how you end up with dirty cops. If you have low force levels and low morale, this is how the streets start running things and people start turning. And I'm not accusing anybody of doing that. It just does make me nervous at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just anytime there's just instability in something that's very vital to your community is it's cause for concern, right? Look at what's happened in Decatur, Joey, right? Look at all of this stuff going on in law enforcement around the state. And we take it for granted sometimes, but I do think these are legitimate concerns. And the police always have had I'll say a target on them, but everything's so politicized right now. what does this do long term to your department? This instability.
Yeah, and I just worry. Is there a clear reason about the chief down in your area why he's on leave?
Yeah, they're looking into some police tactics that were used, and I think there's some disagreement between the the mayor's staff and this police chief. But they're investigating one of these officer-involved shootings that resulted in, obviously, the death of what could be an innocent person. And they're getting a U.S. attorney to conduct an independent investigation. The former Obama appointee, U.S. attorney for the Southern District, Kenyatta Brown. And there's some questions if that's the best person to be investigating this. So what they've done, they put the police chief aside while this investigation's underway.
Yeah, and maybe that's what you got to do, kind of put them to the side while they look into things. And, yeah, maybe Chief Albert here, Montgomery, survives whatever they're looking into. They're being very tight-lipped indeed. Now, going forward, I still, the library stuff still baffles me just because I'm me. But I'm seeing two headlines here from 1819 News. One is either a punk or a pervert. Pastor scolds Hoover Board of Education for book on anal sex being available to students, which is like, oh my goodness. And then there's another one more in your neck of the woods. It's a lot of censored words. See if I can get this right. Can we say fork, dork, and porky fireworks at Fairhope City Council? But it wasn't fork, dork, or porky.
Right.
It's all over the state now. I mean, is it just parents waking up to what's actually going on?
Let me ask you something, Joe. What were these books when we were kids?
Yeah,
Did they have these? I don't remember these.
No.
Or did they? Because why are they in the libraries now?
Especially, I got to read more. Book on anal sex. Is it like part of the book? Is that the whole raison d'etre of the book? Or, I mean, in high school, I discovered some Faulkner and some pretty gnarly stuff in those novels, but come on.
Can you imagine a bunch of teenage boys, 15, 14, 15, 16-year-old, and the book on anal sex in the library?
And,
maybe it's just the culture is so desensitized because you can find that stuff on the internet readily available. But I can just imagine me and my dorky friends like just sitting there giggling at the anal sex book in the library.
Yeah, and it is all over. How is this popping up? Like, to your point, these books weren't around even when I'm there. Well, I went to Catholic school, so that's a whole other thing. But with, it's in Hoover, it's in Fairhope. And, there was that one recent incident where a kid seemed traumatized from a book he found in the Prattville Library. So if these are popping up, I don't want to believe it's homegrown, but you're right. Maybe it's just the general culture.
It's just like somebody's putting these books in there. And when they didn't have these books when you and I were in school, like, what is somewhere along the way, since you and I have left the grade school experience, somebody said, you know what we need in our collection is a book about anal sex. Well, I kind of walk me through that. Like, you imagine, like, whatever librarian with a library science degree from the University of Montevallo, and it kind of like, well, we got a budget this year. We're really looking to expand our library. Maybe instead of the new edition of Charlotte's Web, let's get Debbie Does Anal or something. I mean, what is going on there? Like, what changed?
Well, maybe it's mercenary. It could be like Big Vaseline, Big Lube is passing around a bunch of money of Hoover. Like, it's just.
I hate to make this, like, I hate to kid about it, but it is like, what are these people doing? Like. What is the calculus here? Like how do you start your day if you're a librarian or any kind of school administrator, and you have your grape nuts or whatever it is and your coffee, and like, okay, well, what am I going to do to make the world a better place? And this is where you go with it.
Well, and I think there are some folks, Jeff, whose worldview is like, you need to talk to kids at the youngest possible age about sex. Sex is fine. There's nothing dangerous about sex. There could be no downsides. Perversion's just a word made up by, moralizers and the busybodies in the religious community. Whereas I'm a single 35-year-old guy. I'll admit that, I have my own depravities. I'll put it that way. But I keep it to myself. Like, this idea that you got to push it on kids, your kids or somebody else's, is just disgusting.
Well, they're normalizing behavior, and I mean, we could say, okay, groomer and all that stuff, but, like, I worry, and this even touches on the abortion debate. Like, are we downplaying the consequences? If you want to say there's a thrall sex and there's all these fun things you could do, quote unquote fun things, but like, we're not talking about, well, you could also get pregnant. You also could get an STD. You could also, the culture used to be very, moralistic, very faith-based at times, all of that. And we're getting more secular as we go along, but we're like also built in all that fuddy-duddy old time religious stuff was like, you cross that line, something bad could happen. Well, we're since we're taking that out of it, we're just leaving the consequences behind too.
Yeah, and it's just, it boggles my mind because, like, one thing that's clear as day to me is, like, you should protect innocence as long as you can. And it's tough and more difficult in this day and age, especially, as you mentioned, with the internet and smartphones. But, dadgum, there are certain things you should not be throwing at kids.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the culture is going to do what the culture is going to do, but we don't need our institutions, particularly our public-supported, taxpayer-funded institutions, helping push the stuff along. Look, this stuff is happening on its own. You guys need to get out of the way and just perform your basic duties, and you can leave all this behind. But this is like, Joey, it's weird. This is like the hill to die on for these people. And, like, you should see, like, the Fairhope City Council, the number of people that show up for this discussion or this Hoover thing. And when this happens, it's like, okay, like, why are these people so adamant? Why is this their thing? And that's what's really weird.
Well, and I guess they think they're fighting bigots, and it's a moral thing to do. I'm taking a stand here, and I don't know. I try to...
Are they? I mean, are they really?
Right. Yeah, well, it's a... we could keep going with this, but I actually want to end on this, because as I'm looking at the table being set further for the 2024 November elections, what do you think actually is going to drive the car in terms of issues? Is it going to be culture war stuff like we're talking about, or maybe the DEI stuff you're continuing to see in the news, or is it going to be foreign policy issues, or Trump's personality, Biden being old and senile, or is it bread and butter, say like inflation and the border? Where do you think we're going with this?
It just depends on which side of the aisle you're on. I think economy, if you're looking for kind of the universal thread, what's going to get the swing voter in the I-4 corridor, or Cuyahoga County or Bucks County or wherever to get out and vote. It's still economy, but we're playing a turnout game right now. And you watch what's going on with Arizona and the Alabama Supreme Court. And, I mean, the turnout, the base on the Democratic side is going to be motivated by abortion. That's all there is to it. The right, I think, and you don't see this in the media quite as much, but when you go out and about, you kind of feel it, people talking about it, it's going to be the border. So you have these competing, abortion versus the border, who can get out their turnout, and then if you're still playing for that middle, that squishy middle, it's going to be the economy.
Well, if folks want to check out what you're writing about, thinking about, how can they do so, Jeff?
It's twitter.com/Jeff_Pork.
I've got it pulled up on the live stream, folks, if you want to check it out. And as always, appreciate the time, sir. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, thanks again for having me on.
I did not know I would start the day talking about books for children, about anal sex with Jeff Poor, but that's the day and age we live in, folks. 272-9228. Erica Thomas at 1819 News will be joining us here over the phone as well before too long. Before I continue, this part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And their Pest Pro Services, Ashley has put together a fantastic team. And, each team member kind of has their specialty. Maybe you have a wasp problem. Maybe you have a termite problem. Maybe you have an issue with mosquitoes or fire ants. Any of those issues can be dealt with and more at Pest Pro Services. So, maybe it's something like you need it right now. Say a termite treatment, which is a great idea with the water coming, with the heat rising here in Alabama. The termites are going to be coming alive. And then when it comes to, mosquitoes, same thing. More water, more heat. They're out and about. But if you get the treatments done, it's going to be like you don't have either of those. You never had them. They're so good at what they do, especially that mosquito treatment. If you want to enjoy your backyard, front porch, whatever it is, without getting all eaten up or having to spray yourself with some nasty chemicals, Pest Pro Services can do that for you. And you might as well make them your everyday pest control company. So, you're jam up and jelly tight, as the song says. When it comes to your property, make sure those little critters aren't finding, a way to get inside and bother you. That number, 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro, Pest Pro Services, and be sure to tell them that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you. And let's hit a break. 272-9228 if you want to sneak in before Erica Thomas joins us.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Fresh deals, fresh inventory. Spring savings have sprung at Toyota of Montgomery. And we have a fresh new inventory of the new Toyotas you've been looking for. Take that spring trip in style, comfort, safety, and peace of mind in our huge selection of trucks, SUVs, and sedans. Drive the new 2024 Camry LE and lease for $299 a month, or get low 3.99% APR financing. Spring out of your old car and into a new Toyota and get up to $2,000 over book value for your trade. Or check out our fresh new inventory of certified pre-owned Toyotas that look, drive, and even smell brand new. Just don't wait. Spring offers end soon at Toyota of Montgomery. Online at toyotamontgomery.com. Part of the Sutherland Automotive Group. 3.99% APR financing for 36 months is $2,953 for 1,000 finance. MSRP $30,958. 12,000 miles per year for 36 months lease with $36.38 due at finance. $0 security deposit with approved credit. Excessive wear, tear, and mileage may affect trade value. Plus tax, tag, title, and $995. Expires 4/30/24.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage.
And I'm Madeline Cannon. And we have some exciting news to share with you. We've been serving the state of Alabama for many, many years. And now we are able and ready to offer the same great mortgage financing in Georgia and Florida as well.
Our company may be Alabama Home Mortgage, but now we can finance your Georgia home mortgage and your Florida home mortgage too. We couldn't be more excited to extend our customer base to our neighboring states. For years, we have had customers call us in hopes we could assist them with purchasing their vacation cabin in North Georgia or their dream home in Florida. And now we can. For those of you who have family and friends that live in Florida and Georgia, be sure to tell them the good news.
Whether you are looking to purchase or refinance a home located in Alabama, Georgia, or Florida, you owe it to yourself to give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223, or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time.
It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money?
Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest.
You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist?
That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839.
I see.
Yes, he is our preferred money man.
The money man with the money plan.
You've been paying attention.
Well, could you give us those numbers one more time?
334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man.
Oh, what's that?
I'm not an elk.
Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you?
Knights of Columbus.
I am not even going to make a comment.
Well, the baby liked it.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
It's a day to stay weather aware, and our weather app will keep you on top of the action today. Flood watch is in effect. Becoming windy today. High temperature 78. Widespread rain and thunderstorms beginning in the afternoon and continuing into the evening and nighttime hours tonight. Locally excessive rainfall amounts. Severe weather threat this afternoon and tonight with all modes of severe weather. Tornadoes can't be ruled out. Low tonight 63. Tomorrow, some widely scattered leftover showers are possible. High near 70, a windy day. Nice weather returning Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with abundant sunshine. Will be near 80 by Saturday, low 80s Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, as we're calling it online. Joey Clark Live. Like and subscribe if you want to join the show there on YouTube or at the Joey Clark on the X platform. Let's go right to the phones, and let's see who this is on line 3. It might be our special guest. Hello, you're on there. Who's this?
This is Erica.
Hey, Erica. Erica Thomas of 1819 News, folks. Editor-at-large there. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well. I did not realize you were going to bring me on so soon, so thank you for that.
Well, I'm happy to have you on the program here. And were you there at this Fairhope City Council meeting where people are asking, can we say fork, dork, and porky?
Yes, I was there, and I was front and center on the live stream. You can see I was sitting right behind the podium, so I was trying to keep a straight face the whole time, but it was very, very difficult because some of the things that they were saying were just very disturbing, no matter what age you are.
Now, I'd like to read just one excerpt that you captured, just to get a sense of what happened there. So a bunch of mothers for Moms for Liberty showed up and were speaking out and trying to read some of these explicit books, if I have the story right. They're just going to read them during the council meeting. And at one point, the council president, Corey Martin, stopped one of the moms and said, wait a minute, hold up. I don't need to learn how to do oral sex. Are you about to read that? I don't think anybody needs to learn how to do that.
That's correct.
That was said at a city council.
Discussion.
That was at the city council.
Yes, it was. And the whole point of this is, like, I didn't even feel comfortable writing some of this stuff, but that's the point. People should be uncomfortable. These are books. These are excerpts that came out of books in either the children's or young adult sections. Young adult meaning teen section. And there was a little bit of an argument on whether or not it's 12 years old or 13-year-olds that are in the teen section, but that really doesn't matter. They say that teenagers or people under 12 are not allowed in the teen section, but I've never seen, like, the library police at the Fairhope Library where they're, like, taking IDs of 13-year-olds to make sure they're old enough. So, I mean, there's just a lot of questions surrounding this stuff, and the simple thing is they want to relocate the books, as some libraries have done. They're not asking to take them out of the library. So if people can read some of this stuff and see what they're talking about here, maybe they can come to an agreement. You know, yeah, I really wouldn't want my child coming into contact with this material on accident. So let's just move it to another little section over beside the teen section.
Well, and reasoning given by one of the moms, Rebecca Watson, who started the Moms for Liberty chapter there in Baldwin County, she said, quote, these children are not old enough to get a job, drive a car, see an R-rated movie, or vote, but can read books in silence left to their own imagination without a parent's consent. I think that is a largely reasonable thing to say, especially when you're actually a mother concerned about your own children. But were there folks there at this council meeting who were defending these books and didn't want to move, didn't want any? There's no problem here. Why y'all even making it a problem?
Oh yeah, there were a lot of people there. I would say it was about 50-50, and they all made good points. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them made really good points about, censorship and taking away rights as Americans. But that's simply not what's going on. If you think that when you go to a movie and it has a rating on it that's taking away your rights, that's just not the way it works. It wouldn't be acceptable for pornography to be played at a daycare. That's not taking away the rights of the kids. It's protecting the kids, and they're innocent. And that is the argument for a lot of these people. There was actually a 10-year-old kid that stood up and read some of the book, and that council member, Martin, he stopped him in the middle of it because it was so inappropriate.
Ooh, well, it's just frustrating because this isn't the only story. I was just talking to Jeff Poor about another pastor reading a school board there in Hoover, the Riot Act, for a book about anal, which is just
yes.
What?
And that pastor, I'm not even about to try to pronounce his last name. He's been all over the United States. He's not from Hoover, but he had enough concerns that he traveled to Hoover and spoke to some people, and then presented this information at the Hoover Board of Education meeting last night, and it was very interesting to watch. I watched over and over again, about 4 times, just to kind of take in what all he was saying. And the Hoover Board of Education, they stream their meetings online as well, so they have a YouTube channel, and people can go watch. And I suggest anybody on either side of this argument just look at these things that are being said, because you can't have blinders on. And I really feel like people are not listening to each other. One of the people opposing Moms for Liberty got up and suggested exactly what Moms for Liberty is suggesting, which is to relocate the books in a different section. So after all of these people spoke and made that as a suggestion, they're still attempting to argue with the people, but with the exact same argument. It's crazy. I really believe people need to just open their minds and their ears and listen on both sides of any argument, really.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, the whole idea that libraries are still a thing just baffles me. But, some people love them, and I'm not going to begrudge them that. Now, there's another story here. I'll tell you, one of my favorite podcasts to unwind is Kill Tony. And the recent Kill Tony that came out had a surprise. It was a surprise to this guy being a guest, Tucker Carlson. But Tucker wasn't the only odd celebrity in this comedy scene there in Austin. One of the people there in the audience was Winona Judd. She even brought shots up to the stage for all the comedians to have at the end of the show. And I'm now waking up to see that Winona Judd's daughter has been jailed here in Alabama. And the headline is after allegedly exposing breast lower body at an I-65 intersection, and the mugshot of her, she does not look good. Looks literally beat up, banged up. What's going on with this story?
No, this is very tragic. First of all, I did not realize that Winona Judd's daughter, Grace Kelly, lived in Alabama, but she does. Her last address is in Eufaula, and then I believe she has moved to the Millbrook area. But second, even though her mugshot does look terrible, you can definitely tell that she's Winona Judd's daughter.
Right.
And it's really, really unfortunate. She's clearly had a history of criminal acts involving drugs throughout the past 10 years. She's very troubled, and I'm not sure what led her to do what she did, but according to the police report, she was at this intersection, so I'm assuming like near a ramp on the I-65 at Highway 14.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that she exposed her breast and lower body at the busy intersection to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of herself.
So, like exhibitionism?
That's what it sounds like. I don't know what led to this. I don't know if she was under the influence of anything. I didn't see any drug charges in jail records, but I mean, it's just a clear sign that she definitely needs help. And the craziest thing to me was being Winona Judd's daughter. You would think she would get bailed out of jail. Winona Judd is obviously not rushing to help her, coming to her rescue. In other words, not enabling her at this point. She was arrested on April 5th, and she remains in jail, and only on a $1,000 bond.
It's just, I mean, it's sad. It really is sad to see that, and it's bizarre. And honestly, all the stories I've talked about today with you and Jeff Poor, I'm feeling icky. Can we do something wholesome? And I think you wrote something up that's pretty wholesome that involves the Gulf Shores fire chief. Can you tell the story to the folks out there?
Yes, I would love to. This is one of my favorite stories that I've done recently. The Gulf Shores fire chief, his name is Mark Seeley. He also used to be the Mobile fire rescue chief. He retired from there. But he has brought to Gulf Shores and to Mobile a full body scan program. And so he got this idea when he went to a conference in Texas with his wife. They had all these vendors set up at this conference, and he would go by each table and check out what was going on. Well, his wife signed him up for this thing called LifeScan, and it's a full body scan, kind of with a sonogram. They do it that way, and they just really check for any irregularities that you may have, and for some reason, there's been an increase in cancer among firefighters, and they believe this is probably because, they go into a fire and breathe that in, but also they have the soot all over their uniforms, and something that used to be like a rite of passage for firefighters was to get soot on your uniform, and you were proud of that, and so you wouldn't clean it off. So after being around that, it can get in your skin, it can get in your lungs, you can breathe it in. And it can actually be very toxic. So, but that was something that they didn't realize years ago. And sure enough, he got this scan and found out that he had cancer. He had no symptoms at this point. It was very early stage in his kidney. And likely this scan that he had saved his life.
Wow.
So they sent him to the doctor, and he had the CT scan, and they confirmed it was cancer. And all he had to do was surgery. He didn't have to do chemo or radiation. And so he really took it to heart and took it as an important thing for him to do in his career, to bring this to the Mobile Police Department. And then when he retired from there and came over to Gulf Shores, he brought it there. And now they use a local company. It's called Vital Exam. And they do the exact same thing. And it's just an incredible program for these firefighters to get scanned for free. And now the entire city, every city employee can get a free scan. For firefighters, it's mandatory. But for all other city employees, they can get this scan that would normally cost them $600.
Well, I think that's an amazing story, because cancer has unfortunately touched my life and those I know and love, and I've seen some great successes, people to get over it, and some who succumb to it, and it's great to find out early, because often you don't know. You're walking around, you have no symptoms, so well, I think that's a good, wholesome story to end on. I appreciate that one. I'm getting a little tired of the kids and sex topics constantly coming up. But
exactly.
But it is in the news. It is a reality in this day and age. Hey, Erica, if folks want to follow your work and what you're writing about, think about, how can they do so?
You can go to 1819news.com and check out our stories. We have an incredible team. They're still covering that legislature like crazy, and just really keeping people updated. You're going to see stories that you won't see anywhere else. That's what's so great about 1819 News. We're just not scared to tell the truth. And if the truth hurts, change it. You can also email me at erica.thomas@1819news.com, and I will be happy to reply to emails or receive great and wonderful story ideas. I love to do feature stories like this one with the Gulf Shores Fire Chief. So if you know of anybody that's incredible and amazing and needs to be featured in Alabama, anywhere in Alabama, please let me know.
Well, appreciate your time as always, Erica.
All right, thank you. Bye, Joey.
Bye. Again, folks, Erica Thomas there at 1819 News, editor at large. Always appreciate her time. I think we got time ourselves to go to Randall. Hey, Randall.
Hello, man. Man, I don't even know what to say when you by yourself. Hello, Mr. Live. That's what I'm going to start calling.
Now, I want you to
Mr.
do
Live.
something for me before you can call me Mr. Live. That's fine. But I need you to be like silky smooth, like butter today, baby. I need you to be just take a breath, ease on into it. What's on your mind today?
All right, on the books thing, so we can end on the firefighter stuff. On the books, the library, it is set up to take our time away from the important stuff. I know that's the important stuff, don't get me wrong, but parents can take care of that at home. You know what I mean? You raise your kids the right way. I know you say you should put on, but man, they got the phone. I mean, I love my 1819 people. Don't get me wrong, and they brought this to the table, and it has become a big fight. But Jeff Poor made a very good point earlier. Where was this at when we was kids? Okay, that's one good point. Well, where was this at just 3 years ago? Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say this name because Baron Coleman had his son down here into a library every day doing a reading competition. He never noticed nothing like that. That man noticed the stuff. I would give him that. If there was anything in that library to that, then I just don't. In Montgomery, I'm not saying it wasn't already in the other. I just don't see how. Maybe he stood right over his kid and didn't move when they was at the computer. I don't.
Also,
I'm very,
Randall, this
very
is
confused about that now.
This is,
Go
I
ahead.
think, caught a quicker pace. It's come more to light in the last few years, especially post-COVID.
Okay. And all right, then on to the firefighter stuff, man. There is this, and it's out there at Danley Field. There's this phone out there where they keep the jet fuel. I know because I've tried to get me in the lawsuit 100 million times. I don't sue people. I have ways to sue people every day. I don't do it. But I was out there working at Danley Field, and my brother cut a valve off to a water main, and that we was getting ready to. When it wasn't supposed to be tapped into live, it was on our contract to cut it off. It wasn't nothing done. It wasn't supposed to be done, but somebody forgot about a pressure regulator that was put in that activated if the water pressure was off. In case a fire happened, you wouldn't be able to put it out or by the jet tank. It automatically activated this alarm, and the phone come up. Well, I was standing in it. I was standing inside the wall because that's where we were working, and my brother was just on the outside. He cut the valve off, alarm went off, and all this stuff started coming up out this rock. It just came up, like, it came out the ground, like, and I was running, but anyway, I had got the cancer, and I've been through all the radiation, and I'm not saying that's what caused it either, but I mean, it was after that, but me and both my brothers all had cancer, thyroid cancer, we all had it removed, all had different problems with it, and all different, different, it was different, man.
Right.
But anyway, I just want to say, the firefighters, if you ever mess with that phone, I just think you need to check in. Like just tap in. If you're a firefighter, you ever been around any type of phone, just look up phone firefighters on the internet. I'm sure it'll pull up easy because they used to call me and bug me regularly. So that's I'm glad she brought that up about the firefighter. Go get that scan because that phone is a cancer causing. I mean, there's all kind of cancer causing stuff. Don't get me wrong, but that foam is 100% deadly of that. So that's all.
Oh yeah, man, you gotta, and you didn't spend any time at Camp Jejune, did you?
Camp Jejune? No, sir. But I know.
Or is it Camp Lejeune, Jejune?
Yeah,
like...
he was there in 1987, and the cutoff was 88 or something like that. I don't know, it's something like one year. And I was like, how do they know to that date? Because it was controlled.
Well, and also you got to find a date. You got to find a cutoff date. Like, yeah, why is the age of a majority 18? Why isn't it 21, for instance? So, yeah, you got to pick a date.
All right. I just had to throw that in there for you. I love you, bro.
Later, Randall.
All right, but
272-9228. If you want to join the program, again, that's 334-272-9228. Let's hit this break. Be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group. Selling a home in the river region in this market takes some planning and preparation to be successful. Here are some steps to take to get your home sold fast. Remember the 5 P's. Prepare the home, fresh coat of paint inside and out, and complete any repairs needed. Professionally clean the home. A deep cleaning of floors, cabinets, windows, and blinds will leave a great impression for future buyers. Provide a home warranty for the buyer to give the buyer peace of mind after the closing. Provide a closing cost allowance for the buyer to help them be able to afford your home. Price your home to sell, not sit. A comparative market analysis from a local realtor will demonstrate what other properties have sold for in your neighborhood. Well-priced homes sell faster with less hassle. Houses are selling fast and sellers are getting top dollar. For all the answers, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 221-2883 or 551-0225.
In Alabama, more than 200,000 of our family members and friends are living without health coverage. Often folks can't stay healthy enough to keep their jobs. We need to fix this. It's time for us to find a way to close the health care coverage gap so that folks can remain in their jobs. Where there's a priority out there, we as Alabamians have always found a way to achieve it. Contact Governor Kay Ivey and let her know. Now is the time to close the coverage gap and cover Alabama.
Paid for by the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network.
This is Jonathan with Oswalt's Apparel and Footwear in Prattville. With all that's changed in the last decade, I really thought that radio advertising was dead, but I was wrong. We opened our store during the pandemic, and we wouldn't have been near successful without advertising on Blue Water. Practically every day, someone comes in for the first time and tells us they heard about Oswalt's on the radio. I highly recommend advertising with Blue Water.
Our advertisers are our biggest advocates. Call us to find out how radio can increase your bottom line. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Come see how you can drive a new Lexus from Lexus of Montgomery today. Drive the new 2024 Lexus ES350, now only $353 a month. Or choose the new 2023 Lexus RZ450E for only $399 a month. You can drive a new Lexus today. Visit Lexus of Montgomery, part of the Sutherland Automotive Group.
VIN number RU177074, $4,995 to assign. VIN number P02044, $3,700 to assign. 36 months, 10K mile lease with approved credit plus tax, tag, title, duck fee.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back, folks. Sorry, we got talking off mic to our great guest who's going to be joining us here for about an hour. We have Andrew Szymanski in the studio. Hey, Andrew, how you doing, man?
Good. I appreciate it. I got here a little bit early. I just left Jan's Beach House, had a lovely lunch, and then since I was just down the road, I figured I'd pop on by, get a couple of emails done, and then start early with you today.
Yeah, Jan's is tasty.
Oh my gosh, Jan's is tasty. My girlfriend Amanda and I, we go every Wednesday to go sit at the lunch counter there. It's just kind of a little standing thing that we do. And it's great. Wednesday is pork chops or poppy seed chicken days. So,
man, that sounds. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I ate breakfast. I don't usually eat lunch. So thank you for that.
So I'm the opposite. I'm not a big breakfast guy, more of a lunch guy. So
okay, you like a sandwich guy?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm from New England originally, so you know, we grew up with like Italian sandwich shops and. You know, so submarine sandwiches and hoagies, that was like always how we went growing up.
Is there any way we can get Connecticut-style za pizza down here?
Wouldn't that be awesome? Hartford pizza. I know, right?
I tried it when I was up there. Dadgum.
I know, and I always grew up going into the North End. I was more of an like a Sicilian kind of Italian pizza person, but Hartford. Nobody knew that Hartford was this little gem with a very unique style of pizza, but you know.
Well, there's not much else going on with the Nutmeg State.
That's true.
Excuse me, pardon me.
Well, no, I mean, I'm from Massachusetts, so I know.
You know.
After the Hartford Whalers were gone, I don't really know what was left.
So, how do you think it's going here in the city? Just kind of the general question, taking the temperature. How's the city going?
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things is where the city's kind of coming alive. It's springtime now. The weather's been pretty good. I know today's about to be an abnormality to that, but it's been a lot of activity in downtown for anybody that got the opportunity. I don't know if you did, but the Blue Angels Air Show this weekend was absolutely incredible. Man, that just brings out some kind of, I don't know what, from inside when an F-16 flies over your head, or those F-18 Super Hornets from the Blue Angels. That was pretty awesome.
I always say, glad they're on our side.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I know. And then there's those crazy people that just fly, thousands of feet up the air and cut their engines off and just come twirling down and save it right at the last moment. So, to each their own. The Biscuits opened up last night, so we got baseball back, and there's a lot of positives and a lot of energy. And then, of course, one of the things that this time of year brings about as well is people just being more outside, people moving and starting to get back out into their yards and doing those types of projects, which is good. And of course, we're kind of monitoring some things at the city. We have council coming up on Tuesday, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Well, and we'll save that for when we go to the next hour. But
Sure.
I do like that it comes alive about this time of year. Everybody gets, trying to start to lose that Christmas holiday weight, get out there and enjoy themselves. Biscuit Stadium, folks, I don't like watching, much to my grandfather's chagrin, I don't like watching baseball on TV. But at the Biscuit Stadium, I could do that all day, every day. That's a lot of fun out there.
It really is. It really is. And it does show you, whether it be the Whitewater, whether it be the Biscuit Stadium, we do have in our downtown a lot of things that people, are getting out and enjoying. And it is important for us to constantly be talking about these things. And, you talk about when, we've had some people call in, had some reservations or some thoughts about the Whitewater part, but, I've had people tell me that was the same story when they first announced that the Biscuits were coming to town. And now they're kind of really a big staple and institution. I believe this is the 20th season of Biscuit baseball, which is something Montgomery should be proud of. And is an exciting thing that captivates a lot of people. I think the ownership and management team down there is doing a lot of work to really make it enjoyable for people of all ages, kids, adults, people that love baseball, people that love the food that they have at baseball, the people that love, cold beer, all that type of stuff.
Well, and I worked there for 2 seasons in the box office.
Oh.
My summer before going to Auburn, and then came back the next summer. And the mornings I'd work at Parks and Rec. Okay. And then I could tell all sorts of secrets about Parks and Rec. Well, I won't do that to those guys just yet. Well, it was a while ago. It was a while. Have you ever heard of windshield time?
Okay.
There are now trackers on the cars. Yeah, we got hiding spots too. Anyway, I get it. I kid with those guys because you need them all on staff, and I was happy to supplement. But, some days are slower than others. But I'd start in the morning with Parks and Rec, get done at about, 2 or 3, and then go to the Biscuit Stadium, help run the box office a little bit. I loved working the will call window. We called them cleat chasers.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're these young ladies, good looking, dressed to the nines.
Yep.
And it's wait, how many tickets is this one ball player handed out? Are they competing? Is this a reality show out there? So it's firmly in my memory and definitely part of my Montgomery experience. And, just in general, are we seeing any expansion with the restaurant business? If a foodie, say, came to town to look at the history, are there also some good spots in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, that whole area, and, obviously the alleyway was a big catalyst for the city, but we've seen, that 79A, that kind of development on the backside of the Renaissance Hotel. Some more activities starting to go up Dexter Avenue. For those of you who haven't had the opportunity to go check out Ravello, they're now doing lunch, so a little bit more approachable in terms of the price point and kind of the opportunities that they have there, and that beautifully renovated building that they're in. Absolutely stunning development that they did down there. So there's just, I think there's just a lot to explore in that area. The Trilogy Hotel with their rooftop bar and a little bit of restaurant there. They've got the I forget what it's called now. It's at the first floor of that same hotel, also a little bar and restaurant. So, there's definitely more activity. And I mean, the amount of tourist attention that we're getting now because the EJI Memorial Museum, they've just opened up the new sculpture garden along the river. So there is definitely a pulse and an energy that is a little bit different than in more recent years past.
Yeah, and it's great to see because I want the city to succeed. But, after the break, we'll get into some things that are out there right now, and we'll see where the conversation goes. And, of course, folks, if you have a question for Andrew Szymanski, as always, 334-272-9228. Before I hit this break, this part of the program brought to you by, River Region Contracting. And there at River Region Contracting, Todd Clark and his team are ready to help you out with, that roof of yours. They're called the premier roofing contractor in the area for good reason. Number one, they actually show up on time. They get the job done right. Their estimates are always accurate. They don't leave a big mess, which I've seen happen after a roofing job. You keep finding all that fast food and bottles and nails after the fact. That can happen. I also used to do a residential or construction cleanup. That's my first job.
Yeah.
I did all these jobs, so I was like, now I just want to work 15 hours a week eventually. I wish it was only 15 hours a week. I know. But then at River Region Contracting, here's the great news, folks, especially if you're just looking for basic preventative maintenance. Because if you let a problem fester, your insurance company is going to say, yeah, you were negligent. We're not paying for it. So you might as well get River Region Contracting to come out and inspect your roof. And the great news is their inspections and estimates are always free. And they're a team of insurance specialists. So if they do find a problem with your roof that your insurance company might cover, they can walk you through that claims process, make it a swift and easy experience. So call up Todd Clark and his team today, 356-8635. That's 356-8635. And be sure to tell them that you heard about him here, that Joey fellow on the radio sent you.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. President Biden growing increasingly vocal about his unhappiness with Israel over the Gaza war. During an interview with Spanish-language broadcaster Univision, the president said Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's approach to the war against Hamas is a, quote, mistake. The president went on to say that Israel should agree to a ceasefire and flood Gaza with humanitarian aid for the next 6 to 8 weeks. In consumer news, Ford recalling nearly 43,000 small SUVs because gasoline can leak from the fuel injectors onto hot engine surfaces, increasing the risk of fires. It covers certain Bronco Sport SUVs from the 2022 and 2023 model years, as well as Escape SUVs from 2022, all with 1.5-liter engines. This is SRN News.
Are you over 30 and putting off life insurance? It's time to get a quick quote from Ethos. A better, easier way to get term life insurance. All online with no medical exam. Answer a few health questions and you could be approved for up to $2 million. Isn't it worth 10 minutes to help protect your family's financial security? Ethos. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm 67 and I'm pretty active. I go out in the fields and work, and I notice the difference. I take it in the morning, but I've been taking it, religiously. My body seems to like it.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off plus $10 off any additional sets as a preferred customer by using discount code BALANCE.
Weather is brought to you by the Johnny Adams Law Firm.
Your health and well-being can quickly be impacted by changing weather. The Johnny Adams Law Firm wants you to remain safe and be weather alert with the Rich Thomas Weather Network.
It's a day to stay weather aware, and our weather app will keep you on top of the action today. Flood watch is in effect. Becoming windy today. High temperature 78. Widespread rain and thunderstorms beginning in the afternoon and continuing into the evening and nighttime hours tonight. Locally excessive rainfall amounts. Severe weather threat this afternoon and tonight with all modes of severe weather. Tornadoes can't be ruled out. Low tonight 63. Tomorrow, some widely scattered leftover showers are possible. High near 70, a windy day. Nice weather returning Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with abundant sunshine. will be near 80 by Saturday, low 80s Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Web Bobo with Capital Tractor. Make this spring your most productive yet with our package deal on Kubota's L2501 DT tractor with front loader, 5-foot cutter and box blade, and 20-foot trailer at special spring savings. Kubota and Capital Tractor, Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, these are today's top stories. Governor Kay Ivey joined a crowd of parents and children gathered in Montgomery Tuesday to urge lawmakers to support legislation that protects families. This was a part of the Strolling Thunder rally where advocates focused on policies that guarantee Alabama babies have what they need to thrive. According to the latest CDC study, around 35 to 40% of Alabama's population is obese. State Representative Gwendolyn Gibbon believes this is a big problem in our state. Ever about solutions, Representative Gibbon has introduced a bill that makes weight discrimination in the workplace illegal. Our Montgomery Biscuits won their home opener at Riverwalk Stadium last night. The Butter and Blue shut out the Pensacola Blue Wahoos 9-0 to even their season record at 2-2. The 6-game series with Pensacola continues tonight. First pitch, 6:35. This is the 20th season for Biscuits baseball in Montgomery. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
This is former Alabama Supreme Court Justice Glenn Murdoch. Alabama is a great place to live and work and raise our families because Alabamians are a good people of faith and traditional values. But a huge gambling bill in Montgomery would change our culture forever. Neon light casinos bringing more crime to our big cities and small towns. Highly addictive cell phone betting. And the state selling the lie of lottery riches to the poor and most vulnerable. With all that's wrong in the world, this is no time to give up on our traditional values in Alabama. Call and ask your senator to be the leader you elected them to be, to stand strong and vote no on gambling, and keep the Alabama we know and love. Thank you.
Call your senator at 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800. 334-261-0800. Paid for by Alabama Eagle Forum, Box 130757, Birmingham.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, as we're calling it online, Joey Clark Live. Appreciate all the love on the X platform. You know, it's a humble little talk show, and we started with like 5-10 people watching. I think we have 163 folks watching on X, so
oh, wonderful.
Appreciate the love, folks. You can go at the Joey Clark on X or Joey Clark Live on YouTube, and right across the desk from me, we have Montgomery City Councilman or Counselor, is that how it's done?
I guess we go counselor, yeah, which I also just learned recently that on our agendas it's spelled with 2 L's, but it can be done either way, so I guess we use the old English way of saying counselor as a piece of useless information for your listeners.
Have we found any veins of aluminium?
Right?
We figured this out here. So one news item that hit this week, and everybody's posting it, I think every publication here in the area posted this, is Chief Daryl Albert. I almost said the other guy before him. Daryl Albert has been placed on administrative leave.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your just reaction to this? What can you talk about?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, and obviously we've got a city council meeting coming up on Tuesday. We were made aware that the chief had been placed on administrative leave, and obviously this is when the cell phone starts lighting up with everybody wanting to know. To this point, the information that was put out in the press release is the amount of information that I've been told, directly from the mayor's office. So we're still kind of in that process of this has been done. We've been told that they're in the interim, that we have an interim who's managing the department right now. But from a city council standpoint, especially because, a lot of us, our job is budgetary and kind of oversight. The management of personnel really does fall within the mayor's office and then through the departments, chief of staff, stuff like that. So that's kind of who's operating this right now. Hopefully, as time goes on, we'll have a little bit more information that'll be shared with us as counselors, but also the general public as well, because, we've been talking a lot about public safety during the campaign process and also since getting sworn in back in November. The last two of the last 3 city council meetings, we've had public safety committee meetings ahead of our city council meetings where we've been sitting down talking with the leadership of the police department. Our big focus right now is not just recruitment, but is also retention. There's been a lot of questions and thoughts and opinions about where we're at in terms of the numbers of people that are actually out there. We've had concerns from citizens. I think the last time I was on with you, a lot of the phone calls that were coming in were public safety related. And so it's obviously in totality something that we're really focused on. But then, of course, obviously the news of police chief being on administrative leave.
Well, no, let's talk more generally, because I think everybody's kind of being kept in the dark here. Everybody, including the media, myself included, has our speculations, but I can do that at other times. And honestly, there's only so much to say. So when you are in these public safety meetings, and you're kind of looking at what the city needs. I know before being put on leave, there was a suggestion by the chief of a big pay raise, right?
Yeah. We had looked at, he had proposed a structure that would include 25% or up to 25% pay raise. We looked at a 15 to 20 and 25. And just kind of one of the realities is that, of course, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to make sure that we are paying at a competitive rate to retain and recruit the public safety personnel that we need to have here in the city of Montgomery. So the next part of that is, okay, great. Where is that going to come from? Now, obviously, there's a natural, because our numbers are below what we've budgeted for this year, there's a natural kind of windfall of money that we have, but that won't cover it all. And so one of the challenges that we have is to look at the landscape and say, okay, what other areas can we generate this money from, whether it be on things like being stronger in our enforcement of business licensing and tax collection from businesses that are operating or either with or without a license in the city. Looking at things like in the past, cities have viewed things like lodging taxes, gas taxes, tobacco taxes, alcohol taxes, and raising those numbers up. Now, obviously, that comes with that 3-letter word that nobody really wants to talk about, but is a reality. And this is why I keep telling people it's so important for us to build a competitive city going forward that people want to live in. Because if we had 20,000 more citizens than we do right now, we'd be in a really good spot for dealing with this issue. Maybe not even have been an issue because we would have already had the resources to pay these competitive salaries. So without that, right now, we're going to have to look at some other areas to see where that can come from.
Yeah, and it really is a nationwide problem. I remember you saying after your trip to D.C., meeting with a lot of folks working in municipalities across the nation, this is a nationwide problem. But when we look at the crime, what type of crime is happening here in the city?
So we get a lot of the, well, at least in my district, in District 7, I get a lot of feedback calls, messages about gunshots. I think the interesting thing about the gunshot problem and there's gun violence in Montgomery in general, honestly, a little bit sad, is that right now, I think it was last reported, about 82%, 84% of gunshot victims in the city of Montgomery knew the person who was holding the gun. So obviously a lot of domestic, a lot of, known parties to each other. So it's a lot of targeted gun violence. That doesn't mean that gunshots are not an unsettling thing to have to put your kids to sleep at night hearing every day. And I'm very well aware of that. The other things, the kind of the crime trends that we're seeing nationwide, but also here, it's the petty stuff, right? As people are feeling the economic burdens that are out there, we're seeing an increase in burglaries, in people, rummaging around in cars. And a lot of that is crime of opportunity, crime of opportunity. And it is a thing and a reality in a 2024 world is we have to be diligent, right? We have to make sure that our cars are locked, our houses are locked, our sheds are closed at night, that we're not leaving things in the front yard that may be enticing to people. And it's just a overall feeling of the pressure that people are under that are pushing them into desperation to do this. Obviously, another thing that we're seeing is packages off of.
Oh yeah.
And so I tell people, one of the things that we can definitely do is use the city's Star Watch system. About a month ago, we went out. They've expanded the Star Watch program. It's now got twice the capacity that it had previously. You can tie your house into that either as a direct feed, only to be used, to gather information about crimes that may have happened in the area. Or if you don't want the police tied into your home camera, you can register your camera so that if something happens to either your house or your neighbor's house, they know that they may be able to pull some information and some footage off of your camera. So that's a super important tool that we should be encouraging people to do, and tapping into as well. The other thing I think that we're just seeing, and one of the things I've requested is more increased presence on our roads. I get complaints,
like
traffic enforcement and stuff like that. And that type of stuff is always the toughest thing, right? Because it comes with people that get, it's like, hey, we really need to have a bunch of police out here catching speeders, and then you get caught speeding and you're like, what the heck, man? But so we try and do some of that as well.
So it's frustrating to see that this is such a big problem. And in fact, there are a lot of problems that maybe are in the city that are part of the national trend. So is it just a matter of, I'll put it this angle. Is there a pretty good synergy in your short experience now being on the council between, say, the city, county, surrounding communities, even the state, with it being the state capital? Are people communicating how they should be?
I think they're communicating. I think one of the things we are hearing, at least I'm hearing from people that I talk to, the officers that I know on a more personal level, Montgomery's getting picked apart. And that's why we have to figure out a way to be competitive in our salaries. It is a fact that an urban policing setting is a different type of job than a more rural setting would be. And so when you are a Millbrook, a Prattville, a Auburn, you can basically entice, especially if you have higher or similar pay grades, to officers to say, hey, if you come work for us, right, you may be doing 30, 35 calls a shift. We're doing 10 or 12. And that's a tough thing in a dangerous world for people to kind of turn down at times. And I think that's one of the things that we have to do. We know that we have been working hard, and I, applaud the efforts of the department over the years, working with, their mayors to make sure they have the resources and tools that they need. This salary piece is really kind of the next step to make us competitive with the Hoovers, the Birminghams, the Huntsvilles, the Auburns of the world, because it just an urban setting for policing is a different beast, and we should be honest about that. So I hear all the time, much to my frustration, is that so-and-so is leaving and they're going to Wetumpka, or so-and-so is leaving and they're going to Prattville, or so-and-so is going to go work for the state troopers, because that means that they are they're not going to Atlanta, and they're not going to out of state, and they're not going to Huntsville, and they're staying right in our backyard, but they're not working for us. And so this is a piece that we have been told will help to stop that from happening. So when I was running, something, kind of the way that my view of this has shifted a little bit, we talked a lot about recruitment and the tools we need to have for recruitment. Now I've been told we don't just need recruitment, we need retention. And I'd always thought of this as we need more officers. We also need more officers to stay. We need all of them to stay. We need to make sure that we're doing right by them to make it a competitive situation for them to stay here for.
Well, and I think, just to be blunt, it starts at the top. And I think leadership, again, we'll see what the leave is about in the fullness of time, so to speak. But I think it does come down to leadership. But kind of just following up on the communication question more generally.
Sure.
Do you think you have a pretty good open relationship with your fellow members on the council, with the mayor's office? Do you think, or department heads, these things throughout the municipality? Are we doing all right in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we are doing well in that regard. The reason I want to be able to do things like this, and I'm I owe everybody a recap from the last city council meeting that I have not done yet, which I'm definitely going to do, if not today, tomorrow. Is continue to that communication. And on the 22nd of April, I'll be doing a quarterly meeting, a district meeting up at Hilltop Public House. At 5:30 p.m. we'll be up there. And this is something that I think is an opportunity, not just for people from District 7, but people from all across the city, just to have that contact. I did 2 neighborhood association meetings last night, one the night before. And every time I go to those, I give myself a number out. I say, y'all, I may not be able to get back to you, immediately, but I promise I'm going to do everything I can to be as good as I can be about having that level of communication. I think people do want to be informed and they want to know. And we need to come up with as many ways to give people the information that they need to have. So I think in general, we're doing okay. I think there's definitely some things that we could do better. Not just on the news stuff, but also just talking about the events and activities and happenings around the city.
Right.
We have a major storm system coming in today. We want to make sure that we're providing information so that people are safe when these types of things happen. We have major news things that come through. We want to make sure we're upfront and transparent about those. And then there's just the ongoing things, reminding people about the 311s and reminding them about, different ordinances that may affect them on a long term. So I think we're doing good is the long-winded version of your or the short version of what you were asking, but obviously there's room for us to do a lot better.
Well, and it's just that's, and this is before you were there. There are times where I think sometimes communication is not being done, and that would improve everything, I think, at the end of the day. Have you, and I'm still trying to do my due diligence behind the scenes, so I don't have a very strong opinion about this just yet, but it seems like at the state delegation level, there's a move to remove the Montgomery City County Personnel Board, to scrap it completely. Have you heard anything about this, and what do you think of this?
Yeah, so we're having there's a couple of things, and honestly, we are reacting. So 618 that kind of governs the city. There are some things that if they're going to be changed in there, have to be done at the legislative level. One of the things that I know that the council is realizing we have to be a lot more involved in is the discussion about what changes to 618, to the way that we govern our city, are done. Right now, we have a city and county personnel board, so we kind of oversee that jointly.
And the airport's thrown in there too, right?
And the airport has, and so the idea that when I first came in, I was told by people that have been here for a long time that one of the things that is very important to the council and should remain very important to the council is our ability to appoint people to help oversee our airport authority. Personnel board is not, I don't appoint somebody to that personnel board. At least I don't believe so. I haven't been asked to. So some cities have HR departments, and I think that there's some validity to cities having the ability to oversee their own personnel directly. But we have a system in place that, to my knowledge and from what I've heard from the leadership of the city council, who I'm relying on heavily for information on this, is that they think that the way that it's operating right now is a positive way for us to be overseeing personnel, and that the idea that it would be joint with the county is something that has worked. Now, that doesn't mean that it's the right solution forever. And what I'm hoping for, and part of your communication, is I really haven't heard the argument about why it does need to be changed. I have heard arguments about why it needs to be preserved, and I think that's something that we could definitely get into. I also know that right now, when it comes to this legislative process, everybody's realizing right now on the council, we need a seat. We want to have a more of a seat at the table than seems to exist at this moment.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's actually gone through the House, and it's now on the Senate side, and I'll keep talking to folks about it.
Please.
And I guess you say, is CC now the president of the council?
He is. He is. Yeah, CC Calhoun, who's been with the council for many years, and had the opportunity to travel on that DC trip and spend some time with CC, and really appreciate his perspective. And you'll see in our meetings trying to do a good job of continuing the work of past city council presidents, but also kind of having his own way for overseeing our meetings, and is trying to communicate with us, especially the junior counselors, as much as he can. I
don't know Cece very well, but I will say we just shared a few glances, like you're sitting right next to each other at a town hall, And just sharing those few glances, we didn't even need to say words. I'm like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
we're reacting to the same things in the same way.
Yeah, and Glenn Pruitt is our pro tem, and I think they make a great leadership team. I'm pretty sure that they came in at the exact same time, and Martha Roby as well. So the three of them were all junior counselors at the same time. And as I said, myself, Fernette O'Reilly from District number 4, and Julie Turner Beard from District 2, the three of us being new, give the leadership a lot of credit for questions like the one you just asked. These things come out and we say, hey, tell us about this, help us understand this. And and Cece's done a good job with doing that with us.
Well, I got to hit a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about neighborhood revitalization. I think that's a big part of what can make the city hum even better. So
Sure.
We'll be right back, folks. More with Andrew Szymanski after this.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Erdit. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Have you ever noticed how many car dealers start their commercials with,
"It's the best sale of the year. Push, pull, or drag your old vehicle in. No offer will be refused."
At Larry Puckett Chevrolet, they don't make outrageous claims and have all of that fast talk at the end of their commercials. They just offer great deals month in and month out. New cars and trucks are arriving daily, plus Larry Puckett has a great selection of pre-owned cars and trucks, all makes and models. If you're getting a refund from Uncle Sam, it could be your down payment. If you have an extra vehicle that you want to sell, bring it in for an instant cash offer. They're paying top dollar to keep their lot full. Remember, LP just doesn't stand for Larry Puckett. It stands for lowest prices in the river region. Come to the dealer that lets the customers do the talking. Larry Puckett Chevrolet on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, or look them up online at larrypuckett.com.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values. This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now, again, folks, we have Andrew Szymanski. He's a counselor, spelled the British way, here in our city, on the City Council, District 7. And one big thing the city needs, depending on the neighborhood, is revitalization of certain neighborhoods, some change up. But when we say that neighborhood revitalization, let's put it down where the goats can get it, as some folks say around here.
Okay.
Let's give the 101 on what revitalization of our neighborhoods looks like.
Yeah. Well, first off, I think one of the things that we're talking about, too, is just like an overall culture change that we can have in this city where we have a high functioning relationship between all aspects, the city council, the mayor's office, the county, the chamber, all of us working together to raise Montgomery up, as I keep saying, to be a competitive city. That starts in our neighborhoods, right? So a couple of things that we're looking at addressing right now, and you've probably seen in the news, is that we're starting to figure out ways we can crack down on unlicensed businesses operating, and also on blighted properties that are keeping our home values low and making it less enticing for commercial entities to come in and want to invest in Montgomery. So one of the things that I think I was very excited about and was able to join the mayor on that big press conference about the Fairview Avenue Road project, that big $9 million project. Projects like that seem like they are focused just on that kind of commercial corridor where you have these businesses right off the interstate. But then by cleaning all of that up, by not just having good roads and sidewalks, but good streetscapes, and then businesses being in there, the neighborhoods around those areas will naturally be risen as well. People that want to work in those businesses will live in the area. People will see that there is cleaner, less blight, less trash, hopefully less crime, areas that then you can get more business to invest in as well. And I think that one of the things that we kind of make assumptions about is that areas that don't have commercial activity are like dead neighborhoods or can't ever. And I've been really focused on the neighborhood of Normandale very recently, because Normandale, from I've told from people that have grown up in Montgomery, was a thriving and vibrant neighborhood. There are a lot of wonderful people there. There's just a lot of commercial blight there, and we've got to figure out what we're going to do. I was in a really cool meeting very recently with some of the leadership of the city talking about affordable housing, and not just affordable housing in the terms of like a lower income type housing, but like talking about what does the service industry need? What do nurses, what do people that are young professionals, like what kind of housing are we seeing in places like Birmingham and in places like Mobile that they're really getting invested to try and take on that kind of middle income level worker. You know, interestingly, I think the stat I was given was that for every one white collar job that you attract, it can attract up to 4 or 5 kind of middle income jobs as well. And if you don't have housing opportunities for that, so while our neighborhoods may change over time, while we have to get comfortable with some zoning changes to allow for some more multifamily, we also have to see that that's kind of how the trend of cities is going. And that's something that we shouldn't be fighting against, something we need to be investing into.
Well, and I don't think about it because I've lived here my whole life. So say when I go over to the Cloverdale area, it's just the area. But when I've driven through, Cloverdale, I'll just put it in those general terms, going towards like the Normandale area, like that whole getting to the west side. And I have somebody who's not from here in the car. People are kind of shocked by, look at that multi-million-dollar home, and now look at that shanty.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of that, especially in older parts of Montgomery. And you're right about, I guess, these old strip centers.
Yep.
And so what is the remedy? Like, is it property by property, development by development?
Yeah. So my personal opinion is that it really does take a strategy of trying to figure out what areas will have the most impact when we try and invest in. Now, obviously that Fairview corridor, because it has multiple factors in it, is a good one for us to be looking at. Obviously businesses will do market analysis, right, when they go. And so what I'm trying to say is that as we encourage more people to live in our neighborhoods by making them a little bit safer, by putting, quality of life enhancements like pedestrian infrastructure, trails, reinvesting in our parks and whatnot, then neighborhoods start raising up, and then businesses see in the areas that they may want to put their businesses into. The other thing that we have to do, quite honestly, is we just have to get some more teeth behind some of our blight abatement ordinances and be willing to do tough things. One of the things that some cities do is they do have vacancy taxes, right? Where they do punish people for long-term vacancy, especially for blighted properties. We should be finding ways to encourage and trying to get more people in Montgomery to open up small businesses and to pair them with properties that maybe the city can acquire and put into a property bank, which I know is something that's being looked at right now. We don't have an active property bank right now. I know that's something that the mayor's office is trying to address. I was having a conversation about that just the other day. But those are some of the things that we can do to help connect people with these pieces of property that are just sitting out there. When you have really low property taxes in an area like we do, it is a lot easier for large commercial entities to hold on to properties without tenants inside them.
Now, did you meet Pete Buttigieg?
I did not. I did not meet Pete Buttigieg. When I was in D.C., I did hear him speak, and I think one of the things that was really interesting about the Secretary of Transportation's kind of pitch to us is that in the new infrastructure bill, yes, it was a massive, massive bill. It's provided hundreds of millions of dollars. And one of the things that they said is that was kind of changing was rather than them going out and the federal government identifying, they asked states to say, here are the projects that we need. And it went from major infrastructure pieces like some of the bridges, roadways, thoroughfares that they've done to that big $36 million grant that came from Terry Sewell that is wonderful because the Congresswoman realizes that by improving that section of the voting rights trail, we know what one of our biggest sales tax infusions has been. It's come from tourism.
Sure.
So not only are we going to do a road project, not only are we going to have a tourism partner, but now we're going to make an area that had not been that enticing to investors, very enticing to investors. That's what's so exciting about something like that. It takes that kind of multifaceted approach to really raise some of these areas that have been, strategically placed. That is right next to 65, but that big strip that's across from Carver High School has been emptied for almost as long as I've been in Montgomery.
Right.
So,
well, and I need to be sold more on the whole EV idea, and it's not just particular to Montgomery. But and I don't mean like, oh, electric cars bad. I mean where the technology is, how you actually stand up infrastructure, all that stuff. But on the better walkways, sidewalks, signage, beautification, for lack of a better word, I completely agree.
yeah, I mean, it's pride too, right? I mean, you and I have this conversation every time we get done with one of these, and we talk about how we're here. We're doing what we need, what we can do to make Montgomery a good place for us to live. And there are a lot of people that are frustrated, and I understand that. Back to your communication point, like they want to know that their government and that their power players in town are working well together to raise the community that they live in. They want to be comfortable. They want to live in vibrant neighborhoods. When I have the meeting on the 22nd, that's one of the things we're going to talk a lot about. And the reason why I want to be active in this role is because people need to hear that at least work is being done. And when they don't understand something, I've had plenty of people say, like, I just don't get why you're so into this trails thing. And I tell them it's because I've seen it work in other places, right? I've seen the improvements to neighborhoods that it's created. I know why community connections are important. I know why making it easier for school children to get to school will make it easier for kids to walk through the front door and actually go to school, right?
Right.
So, I think in all of this, as we look at neighborhoods, we're starting to have a much more broad, holistic approach to how we can raise neighborhoods across the city.
And again, the number's 272-9228. Forgive me, folks. Eddie's not here today. He claims he's working and making money. He better be, because if
He's
not,
selling a house.
He's probably selling a house or making some deal happen. I mean, his favorite movie is Glenn Ross.
Yeah.
Always Be Closing. Here's
Closing.
your leads, Eddie. But sometimes he just goes fishing. So there are days where I wonder. But let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
What's up, Joey?
Hey, is this Black Caesar? Yeah. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, brother? How y'all doing?
Doing all right.
Joey, you never here, but Norman Bridge Road at one time was considered the beginning of the east side of town.
Yep.
Right.
And my family moved. My folks bought a house on Norman Bridge Road. You know what people started asking us? Are y'all rich? Like, no, you just want to live in the neighborhood I grew up in was a good neighborhood also, but you know how women are,
Well, and I think it's a good lesson for everybody, Black Caesar. Just look up, say, like the Lightning Route, and then keep looking at how the city's expanded from downtown and the river. And yeah, what used to be east is not so much anymore. That sprawl is not the greatest thing in the world.
Sure.
I think but it's, what are you going to do about it? That's the way it is for now, and you got to take steps. But you're right. The nice part, or the so-called nice part of town, keeps moving, which also means there's opportunity to actually make every part of the city hum.
Yeah, and we're seeing it across the country. Look, there's trends, and Montgomery's not impervious to trends. Right. And so you had this period in the 80s and 90s where people got into suburbs, they started pushing away, and now we're in this era of kind of new urbanism where people are wanting to get back towards city centers. It's where, kind of that heartbeat is, where it's the easiest place for us to kind of identify and invest in. The Main Street announcement that the mayor made, excuse me, not so long ago, was wonderful, because that is a real great public-private partner that's going to help with revitalization efforts and also some expansion of our downtown footprint. But then areas just like that Norman Bridge, Normandale, I go to Greg's Breakfast Bar over there. I love it over there. And just
I love Greg.
There's so many great buildings that are not occupied that I can just my brain goes crazy. I can see this and there and that.
Here's the thing. In big urban cities, people live downtown. For example, Joey, check out our favorite show, Seinfeld.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they walk out the door and they just walk to a restaurant, know, and everything. And here we have to almost drive 5 miles or so to go somewhere that we can just want to sit down and be comfortable and eat.
No, I
people live in urban. They live in the downtown area. We live in. Our houses are out in the rural, almost outside of the city, and we don't live downtown. But I think we're trying to get to that point. It looks like people are moving downtown and living in those apartments downtown here. They're kind of high, but that's like what's going on right now.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I think it's a good trend to go back in that direction. Some folks called up worried about, some sort of dystopian 15-minute city where everything's technology based, and so I don't think that's happening in Montgomery anytime soon. Just again, how the city has grown and it's sprawled out. But the idea of, say, making certain areas walkable, like when you go to places where like Greenville or Chattanooga or just Boston, even though the tunnel and the traffic, there's a whole other conversation. But to be able to walk around a space and there's so many options of where to go it's a really worthwhile thing.
You got to have residential density to do that. And one of the things I think the Main Street program is going to do, and some of these discussions that we're having about what affordable housing really means, is going to encourage and find ways to leverage, whether it be bonds, whether it be investment opportunities, to create more residential density in the downtown area and in the areas immediately surrounding that. When you have that, and you have a customer base as somebody who has a small business,
right?
I know that if you open up an apartment building with 50 apartments across the street from my coffee shop, if I'm doing a good job at making coffee, I'm going to have more customers, and that's going to make the next person say, you know what, I think 2 coffee shops could live in this area, and then you get a second coffee shop, and that's I don't want to sound like it's simple, because the mechanisms are very complex, but I think we as cities identify that as a key thing.
Joy, you were just in Boston, right?
Yes.
How far did you walk before you realized you were maybe 5 miles from where you were staying?
No, they stayed more a little outside the city, so we had to take the tunnel every time we went into the city. But no, we walked. It was a very walkable city. I was kind of amazed at how quickly we were able to get around.
And I wish I'd have told you before you left, but the area where JFK proposed to Jacqueline Onassis, it's up there. It's in that area.
Okay.
It's a very beautiful spot. I wish I would have told you about it so you can go see it before you left.
Well, I mostly drank and ate and wasn't necessarily seeing the sights.
Come on now.
My kind of guy.
Yeah, I thought that State of the Union response was great. That's how much I drank. I appreciate it, Black Caesar. Let's go to line 3. You're on the air. Who's this?
I think it's me.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
This is Urbanite.
Hey, Urbanite. How you doing?
How's it going?
Yeah, here's a simple question. Before all the peace and love broke out during the George Floyd time, Target had committed to developing inner city neighborhoods with shopping centers. Has anybody been in contact with Target?
I have not been in contact with Target.
They'd be a perfect fit for Normandale.
That's a great, I mean, again, it goes really to making sure that we can always hope and wish. We have to do what we need to do to make sure that those areas have the customer base, have safe neighborhoods, of course. But Target, that'd be great. I know Amanda would be really pumped if there was a Target right down the road from our house.
Yeah, but once again, all the peace and love broke out, and I think they lost their ass. But we're moving on, right?
Sure. It's one way to put it.
Yeah.
They're not holding it. They're not holding anybody accountable, right? So they can write it off on their tax.
We don't need to talk about all the other cities' problems in this nation. Let's pick Minneapolis. It's really,
Well, yeah, I mean, and actually, just as a side note, I mean, if you looked at what was happening around the country at that time and what didn't happen here in Montgomery, which was the large-scale looting, the protests and violence that was happening in a lot of city centers. Heck, it was happening right up in Birmingham. I know a couple friends of mine that had a CrossFit gym in the downtown area of Birmingham completely destroyed. We didn't have that here in Montgomery, which I think is something people say, well, Montgomery's too small. There's 200,000 people here and many more in the surrounding area. There was an opportunity for that to happen, and it didn't happen here. Our police were a part of that conversation at the time, and I commend everybody. I was not part of the city council, but everybody in leadership that was here, because that did not happen here. So, when Montgomery is a unique place in a lot of ways, and sometimes in a good way.
Sometimes.
Do you know if there was a tick in business at the water park during the air show? Around the air show time?
Shoot, I mean, can only imagine. So I know I had some friends that were out there, and let me tell you, I was out there on the Thursday beforehand. We had a welcoming event for the Blue Angels and the military coming into town. The Whitewater was a great setup for it, and I hope there was a lot of people out there. And I hope a lot of people go out there this weekend. I will be out there. This is one of those fun times where my day job with the Scenic River Trail crosses over with events here in the city. We'll be set up as part of the Olympic trials, talking about Alabama's waterways. We've got like the people that you see on your television at the Summer Olympics in Paris. They're going to earn their right to go there by coming through Montgomery. And that's like a really unique thing within the first year of Montgomery Whitewater to be open for the Olympic trials to be out there. But they're also not stopping. They're continuing their free concert series on Saturdays. So I hope people get out there for that as well. I'll definitely be out there for that. I was out there for see a local band last time that they had that. And I hope it was packed. And I heard that like on the Saturday, there was almost 110,000 people at the air show. And again, just shows you we've got a lot of unique things here that people can tap into.
I appreciate it, Urbanite.
All right, thank you.
And pretty much out of time here, and we always do this. If folks do want to contact you direct, get in touch with you, whether they saw something they don't like or they've got an idea.
Yeah, well, again, I would really encourage anybody that's interested at Hilltop Public House on February 22nd, which is a Monday at 5:30 p.m. I'll be having
February?
April.
April
Sorry.
22nd.
You see,
days flying by.
Yeah. April 22nd, Monday, 5:30 p.m. We're just going to be having a community discussion. Going to try and have these regularly on a quarterly basis throughout the year. It's not restricted to people from District 7, so people can come out, meet me at that. People can always call, email me, text. One thing that I've been telling people in the district is that if there's something that you see that you think, have a question about, or want to having some trouble navigating 311, please send it to me. Send me a picture, a little description, the address where the issue is, and I'll try and help you get into it. We'll be announcing some paving project work that's going to come up pretty soon, and some other things. So hopefully see people on the 22nd, and all the information, social media, Instagram, Facebook, all the fun things.
Well, I appreciate the time as always, Andrew.
Always, Joey. I really appreciate it.
And we got to hit this break. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And they're at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams, Madeline Cannon, lovely Madeline, who was here yesterday. They can help you whether you're looking to buy, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, or refi. And, they've got great deals, especially for veterans. They're VA Home Loan certified there at Alabama Home Mortgage. It means they know the latest. Some veterans don't know they've earned these benefits through their service. And I'm telling you, veterans, this is the best game in town. You're talking up to 100% refinancing of your home or no money down when you're buying a property. But even if you're not a veteran, what Kim and Madeline can do is sit down with you, get to understand your goals in owning a home or refinancing. Be a lot of reasons why. Don't just look at the national headlines and, the economic news can often be doom and gloom. You got to think about your own economy, your own hearth and home, so to speak. And Kim and Madeline are ready to help you in that regard. Call them today at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Like Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hey there, folks. It's your trusted real estate professionals, Hannah Grantham and Eddie Bader, here with an exciting announcement. We have made the move to Forest Meadows Homes and Lands. That means we're now even more equipped to serve you and your real estate needs.
That's right. Whether you're buying or selling, working with us ensures that you're in the best hands. Personalized service, expert advice, and now more options and opportunities.
So why wait? Let's make your real estate dreams a reality. Give me, Hannah Grantham, a call at 334-368-6358.
Or me, Eddie Bader, 334-322-0662, and let's get you moving.
When your tax refund comes, put it on the floor and walk on it. Revitalize the look and feel of your home with new floors from Prattville Carpet. With faster and better service than the big box stores and luxury vinyl planks starting as low as $4.99 per square foot. You'll enjoy that tax refund turned flooring every single day.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for waterproof carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Dial 285-8117 or visit PrattvilleCarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the River region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From a little fender bender to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For over 35 years, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
It's a day to stay weather aware, and our weather app will keep you on top of the action today. Flood watch is in effect. Becoming windy today. High temperature 78. Widespread rain and thunderstorms beginning in the afternoon and continuing into the evening and nighttime hours tonight. Locally excessive rainfall amounts. Severe weather threat this afternoon and tonight with all modes of severe weather. Tornadoes can't be ruled out. Low tonight 63. Tomorrow, some widely scattered leftover showers are possible. High near 70, a windy day. Nice weather returning Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with abundant sunshine. Will be near 80 by Saturday, low 80s Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Web Bobo with Capital Tractor. The Z700 series is the star of Kubota's line of zero-turn mowers, and our special spring pricing makes it easier than ever to take one home today. Powering Alabama, Kubota and Capital Tractor, Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
Medical Outreach Ministries is a free healthcare clinic providing primary and specialty care for uninsured low-income adults in our area. MOM sees almost 1,000 patients annually who are attended to by volunteers, including physicians, nurses, and pharmacists. Please call 334-281-8008 or visit momclinic.org to learn how you might qualify for our services, volunteer, or donate to this vital community service.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1, WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternooners. We're calling it online, Joey Clark Live. 334-272-9228. If you want to hop in, I mean, anywhere you want to go, folks. Honestly, I'm feeling relaxed today. But also, I can get worked up, especially when I see the latest economic numbers that have come out. And there are a lot of reasons to be worried about, oil prices in particular going up. It could be geopolitical things like, refineries in Russia getting blown up by Ukrainian drones. Could be OPEC, playing around with how much oil they're pumping out of the ground. The BRICS nations bucking the so-called Western system. And it could also have to do with we printed so much money, especially during the COVID years. So I'm going to turn to my usual expert on this. This is Peter St. Onge. And, today his video is about $100 a barrel for oil. Let's see what Peter has to say. Get ready for $100 oil.
$100 oil could be coming thanks to the Federal Reserve. That would put a gallon of gasoline well into $4 territory, which could send Joe Biden scampering off to the retirement home he should have gone a few years ago. The warning comes from Bloomberg, who puts it on geopolitical tensions from OPEC output cuts to Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian refineries to Mexico slashing exports to feed a very hungry domestic oil market. These have already taken oil to $91 last week before it fell back. The problem is the drones are just the spark. The gasoline is over 30 major central banks, pretty much all of them, are set to slash interest rates in the second half of 2024 in a coordinated push led by the global interest rate mothership, the Federal Reserve. For background, the Fed effectively runs central bank policy for pretty much the entire world. When the Fed hikes, it gives cover for other central banks to hike. When the Fed cuts, they either have to join in or watch their currency collapse, like the Japanese yen, which lost fully a third of its value in just the past 3 years. So to say 30 central banks is really just to say the Fed wants to cut. The problem is it is well known that interest rate cuts drive inflation, setting off a tissue fire of borrowing and spending that drives up the price of everything. In fact, that's the whole basis of modern central banking, to use the interest rate to control inflation. Cut rates to get a little more inflation, hike when you made too much. So toss those 30 central banks into the geopolitical games and it is off to the races. In theory, of course, Joe Biden could just drain the rest of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which he half drained to buy the last election. But that would only go so far if generalized inflation is taking off. Plus, it would mean our ambulances and our military don't have any gasoline in an actual crisis, which was kind of the point of having a Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So why is the Fed cutting rates and driving inflation up? That's been the mystery of the year. I mentioned in a recent video how inflation's actually been rising every month since October. So on an annualized basis, CPI went from 0.9% last October to 1.9% in November, 2.8% in December, 3.5% in January, and 5.4% on an annualized basis in February.
Damn.
The latest number.
Damn.
Normally, that would mean more rate hikes because it would mean the Fed has not done enough to fight inflation. Instead, here we are with a coordinated Fed-led global campaign by 30 central banks to slash interest rates. One possible explanation, of course, is that they're doing it for Joe, because Joe Biden needs that tissue fire to get some numbers on the board just until the election. If that's what's really happening, it means we could be in for some serious inflation numbers. In fact, 30 countries worth. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. My biggest fear these past couple years is that we are repeating the disaster of the 1970s, when the Fed financed enough government spending to get us to 10% inflation. Then they cut rates too soon and gave inflation a second wind that lasted 5 years, delivering double-digit unemployment that was only ended with the worst series of recessions since the Great Depression. If the Fed follows that script again, we are looking at a repeat of 2022, but this time it could last for years. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
Again, that is Peter St. Onge, and one of these days, I promise, I'll get the man on himself live. And so we can talk about, in particular, what he's talking about, a replay of the 70s. We can get into that into detail and where he thinks the trends are going and where we're going to end up as a nation. But hey, we got a great sponsor here of the program on the line, Michael Cohen. Hey, Michael, how you doing today?
Hey, Joey, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying life. How's it going at Cohen's?
It's doing great. You know, it's actually a little darker outside than it was when we had an eclipse.
Yeah, I guess the cloud cover has us. It's one of those days where you want to stay inside and watch a movie.
And I see all the schools are closing, but we're not smart enough in retail. We're still here.
But if folks want to get by the showroom, I would suggest they try out. We haven't talked about this in a second. You still got those massage chairs there on the showroom floor?
Yes, sir. I think we've got 4 or 5 of them on display, all different models. And they do one incredible job.
And so these do full body, right?
Yeah. They all start basically at your feet, and then they work their way up to your shoulders. And as you move up from different levels of the chairs, they just give you more and more of each area. It's just the top of the line when you sit in there and you get heat on your legs, you get it on your lower back, and you get it on your neck. And, it starts at the balls of your feet, and it squeezes and massages, and then it does your calves and it does your hamstrings. It works its way up. It also does your arms and your hands. And it's got a little deal that rolls up and down your back. You can also get it into zero gravity, where it takes all the pressure off your lower back. You can Bluetooth your phone to it so you can listen to your favorite music. It's got the light therapy built into it, which can either energize you or relax you. They do a wonderful job. And you can move them around because they've got little wheels that you can kind of pick up the feet part, and then you can roll it like a wheelbarrow and move it throughout your house without having to have 3 big guys to do it for you.
Beautiful. And I'd imagine, well, we don't talk about this as often as maybe we should. You'll have financing options there, Cohen's, right?
We do. We have a couple of different options depending on what grade of what your scores are as far as credit goes. So if you have really good credit, we have Synchrony. If you have a little lesser credit, we also have another finance company that does more of a higher risk financing. So either way, and of course we take all your credit cards, and we still take cash.
Oh yeah, well, cash is always, I think, the best way to work. But I'm just looking at these, and now I'm starting to dream. This happens every time we have a conversation, Michael. I'm like, man, I could have that. I could use that.
Well, you could. I mean, a big, powerful radio host like yourself, you would think that you would be in this already. We should have done a better job of selling.
Yeah, well, keep working on me, because I might have to go pull the trigger over there. But again, folks, you can always go to thinkcohens.com. I'm, in fact, looking at it right now, looking at these massage chairs. But I really do encourage you to stop by the showroom, even on a cloudy day like today. 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. They're open 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And, well, I appreciate it, Michael. Always do.
Have a great day. Take care.
You too. And be sure to find Michael or one of the team members. Say, hey, I heard Michael on the air with that Joey fella. They're talking about those massage chairs. Final hour of news and views in the afternoon after this.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
President Biden growing increasingly vocal about his unhappiness with Israel over the Gaza war. During an interview with Spanish-language broadcaster Univision, the president said Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's approach to the war against Hamas is a, quote, mistake. The president went on to say that Israel should agree to a ceasefire and flood Gaza with humanitarian aid for the next 6 to 8 weeks. In consumer news, Ford recalling nearly 43,000 small SUVs because gasoline can leak from the fuel injectors onto hot engine surfaces, increasing the risk of fires. It covers certain Bronco Sport SUVs from
the 2022 and 2023 model years, as well as Escape SUVs from 2022, all with 1.5-liter engines. This is SRN News.
Biden has started tracking Christians like cattle. Yes, you heard it right. He pressured banks to tag transactions for certain keywords. One of them is Holy Bible. It's a horrifying and creepy attack on our religious freedoms. It's made possible by a digital financial system that makes you a sitting duck. But you do have other options. I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. I'm Lance Wallnow, a news analyst, a best-selling author, and evangelical leader to people who cherish their financial independence. A precious metals IRA can help you avoid the scrutiny of Biden's anti-Christian bureaucracy while also preserving your retirement savings. To find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text faith to 989898. There are no strings attached. So text faith to the number 989898 right now and take action to protect your own prosperity.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where dump truck drivers are in demand. Wiley Sanders is on the grow. We need dump truck drivers now. Call 855-77-9785.
It's a day to stay weather aware, and our weather app will keep you on top of the action today. Flood watch is in effect. Becoming windy today. High temperature 78. Widespread rain and thunderstorms beginning in the afternoon and continuing into the evening and nighttime hours tonight. Locally excessive rainfall amounts. Severe weather threat this afternoon and tonight with all modes of severe weather. Tornadoes can't be ruled out. Low tonight 63. Tomorrow, some widely scattered leftover showers are possible. High near 70. A windy day. Nice weather returning Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with abundant sunshine. Will be near 80 by Saturday, low 80s Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey Publix.
1819 News.
The Alabama Senate has passed a bill that would change the way in which the state health officer is placed within that position. Currently, the state health officer is chosen by the 12 members of the Medical Association of the state of Alabama. This bill would give the governor the appointment powers from a list of candidates that are submitted by the State Committee of Public Health. The State Committee of Public Health would also be diversified of its members, which is currently comprised of MASA members only. The bill also allows for the governor to reject or prohibit proposed emergency rules or orders coming from the state health office. This bill has passed the state Senate with a unanimous vote. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Some of the greatest blessings is just having people that care about you, to have someone that's just going to love you and make you feel important. They encourage you to be in church. They encourage you to be in prayer. They encourage you to be in your Bible. Now it's a part of my day every day. My house parents planted seeds in me that you can see where those seeds have sprouted in my life and helped change my life.
Big Oak Ranch, a Christian home for children needing a chance.
A grand jury in Jefferson County decides to not prosecute a restaurant owner who shot one of his customers. The fatal shooting occurred at a pita stop at the end of 2023. Investigators determined that 30-year-old Ricardo Garcia was involved in an altercation with that restaurant owner, which led to his shooting death. Alabama State University is offering help to students at Birmingham Southern College as that school gets ready to close down for good in just about a month. The ASU administration is offering assistance to BSc undergraduates and graduate students who are looking for transfer options. ASU will be working with these students when it comes to application fees as well as expedited credit transfers. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
This is former Alabama Supreme Court Justice Glenn Murdoch. Alabama is a great place to live and work and raise our families because Alabamians are a good people of faith and traditional values. But a huge gambling bill in Montgomery would change our culture forever. Neon light casinos bringing more crime to our big cities and small towns, highly addictive cell phone betting, and the state selling the lie of lottery riches to the poor and most vulnerable. With all that's wrong in the world, this is no time to give up on our traditional values in Alabama. Call and ask your senator to be the leader you elected them to be. To stand strong and vote no on gambling and keep the Alabama we know and love. Thank you.
Call your senator at 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800. Paid for by Alabama Eagle Forum, Box 130757, Birmingham.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health.
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the final hour of the program here on a stormy Wednesday. Again, that number 272-9228 if you want to hop in on the conversation. But a lot of news, stuff that I definitely care about, issues at the national level. Let's start with Rand Paul. He just came out with an op-ed. You know, he has been like a drug-sniffing dog he's on the scent. He's got it. I almost said something else. Got me in trouble. But Rand Paul is in this op-ed. So let's just read it straight up. He asked, how vast was the great COVID cover-up? Well, my investigation has recently discovered government officials from 15 federal agencies knew in 2018 that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was trying to create a coronavirus like COVID-19. These officials knew that the Chinese lab was proposing to create a COVID-19-like virus, and not one of these officials revealed this scheme to the public. In fact, 15 agencies with knowledge of this project have continuously refused to release any information concerning this alarming and dangerous research. You know, I always say it's not the elected officials in charge, it's folks who are part of the agencies. Yeah, Rand Paul has been trying to get this information as a senator for years now. They don't want to cooperate. Government officials representing at least 15 federal agencies were briefed on a project proposed by Peter Daszak, EcoHealth Alliance, and the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The project, the Diffuse Project, proposed to insert a furin cleavage site into a coronavirus to create a novel chimeric virus that would have been shockingly similar to the COVID-19 virus. For years, Rand Paul's writing this again, folks, I've been fighting to obtain records from dozens of federal agencies relating to the origins of COVID-19 and the Diffuse Project. Under duress, the administration finally released documents that show that the Diffuse Project was pitched to at least 15 agencies in January of 2018. So what does this mean? It means that at least 15 federal agencies knew from the beginning of the pandemic that EcoHealth Alliance and the Wuhan Institute of Virology were seeking federal funding in 2018 to create a virus genetically very similar, if not identical to, COVID-19. Disturbingly, not one of these 15 agencies spoke up to warn us that the Wuhan Institute of Virology had been pitching this research. Not one of these agencies warned anyone that this Chinese lab had already put together plans to create such a virus. Peter Daszak concealed this proposal. University of North Carolina scientist Ralph Barrick, a named collaborator on the Diffuse Project, failed to reveal that the Wuhan Institute of Virology had already proposed to create a virus similar to COVID-19. And now we know that 15 agencies heard the proposal, and when each agency discovered that COVID-19 was strangely similar to Diffuse's proposed virus creation, not one agency head stepped forward to warn the public that the virus might be man-made, and therefore already adapted to transmit freely among humans. Not surprising to some of us, writes Rand Paul, Dr. Anthony Fauci's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases was not only briefed on Wuhan's desire to create this virus, NIAID was actually listed as a participant in the initial Diffuse pitch. Fauci's Rocky Mountain Lab was named as a partner alongside the Wuhan Institute of Virology in their proposal. These documents also reveal that a scientist whose lab has received millions of dollars from EcoHealth was also part of the original plan to create these chimeric coronaviruses. This researcher, Ian Lipkin, also later became one of the authors of Proximal Origins, a journal paper commissioned by Fauci and the National Institute of Health head Francis Collins to throw shade on anyone arguing that the virus might have come from the lab. Yet Ian Lipkin never revealed to the public the Diffuse proposal. That right there, folks. It's one thing to be quiet. That's bad enough. It is bad. But when you're this Ian Lipkin guy, when your lab has received millions of dollars from EcoHealth, who was part of the original plan in 2018 to create these viruses, then comes out when coronavirus hit, the actual COVID-19 pandemic starts, and essentially creates a smokescreen using his prestige, his credentials, to essentially tell anybody, if you bring up it's a lab leak theory, it might have been man-made, you're just crazy. You're a crazy, crazy conspiracy theorist. Shame on you. Rand Paul continues. Millions of people died from COVID-19. We now know that over 15 government agencies, as well as the investigators, Peter Daszak, Ralph Barrick, Ian Lipkin, and scientists at NIAID's Rocky Mountain Lab, all knew of the Wuhan Institute of Virology's desire to create a coronavirus with a furin cleavage site, a virus pre-adapted for human transmission. And no one spoke up. We only know of this Diffuse proposal because a whistleblower, one brave Marine, Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Murphy, came forward with the truth. Likely, hundreds of people in the government knew of this proposal to create a COVID-19-like virus, and virtually every one of these people chose to keep quiet, to obscure, and ultimately to conceal information that might have saved lives by letting the world know this was no sleepy animal virus with poor transmission. No, all evidence suggests COVID-19 was a laboratory-enhanced virus purposefully adapted for human transmission. Shame on all those who covered up the Diffuse project. Of course, they all should be punished, but likely won't. At the very least, though, the perpetrators should be made to admit the truth, and Congress should finally put in place sufficient oversight to make sure dangerous gain-of-function experiments are sufficiently vetted, and if necessary, prevented. And that is directly from Kentucky United States Senator Rand Paul. And the fact that, we're now in 2024, and we still haven't actually learned the frickin' lesson. You wonder why people don't trust our professional elite institution. It's because of crap like this. And let's continue with that theme. We're now supposedly going to have a vote. Judge Knapp was talking about yesterday, an up or down vote on Fisa. Fisa 702. Well, the truth is, it's probably going to pass. Because if you can't reform it, we're terrorism, right? Terrorism. There are some warriors out there, Jim Jordan making a great case the other day, that if you want to use this information, FBI, get a warrant. And that leads me to this headline, Weaponization Panel disappointed with GOP leadership on FISA reform. Thank you again. Is there something in the water, or is there some ceremony with black robes and probes when you become a leader there in the United States Congress? Did they show you the aliens or something? Did they make you mainline DMT so you have to congregate with the interdimensional beings that are actually running the show? What do they do to these folks? Because Mike Johnson seemed like a good guy. And he's now continuing to disappoint. Maybe all that stuff I just said, or it's a thin majority in the House and he has no real power. Probably that. Oh, breaking news, folks. Deputy Chief John Hall named acting Montgomery Police Chief. So there's that. But a member of the House panel investigating the weaponization of government expressed disappointment Tuesday in House Republican leaders and the scope of that investigation. Representative Dan Bishop of North Carolina, a member of the House Judiciary Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, said House Speaker Mike Johnson would not support a proposed reform of government surveillance programs. Thanks, Mike. Coward. Absolute coward. Or maybe you were just lying the whole time. This comes as you now have FBI whistleblowers speaking out, saying, not that this thing needs to be reformed, or this needs to be changed up, or the process could be made better. No. 2 FBI agents who had their security clearances suspended after speaking to Congress about how law enforcement went after pro-lifers and concerned parents, now warn the FBI has adopted a, quote, Marxist culture and called for its abolition. The type of recruiting events they have adopted this Marxist culture to permanently change our institutions like the FBI, said Garrett O'Boyle, an FBI agent with whom House Republicans hailed as a whistleblower. He said this Tuesday at an oversight project event at the Heritage Foundation. Remember, the FBI are the people with the guns and the badges who will come after you. O'Boyle was referring to, not O'Doyle, if you're out there listening, Bo, not O'Doyle rules. O'Boyle was referring to the FBI's decision to publicly champion identity politics celebrations such as Arab American Heritage Month and to use race as a factor in hiring. That's interesting. O'Boyle became an FBI special agent in July of 2018, recounted that he went to Congress in October 2021 to speak about the FBI's threat tag assigned to concerned parents who spoke up at school board meetings. The FBI was stonewalling the Congress when they would ask for information about that threat tag. O'Boyle recalled interviewing an FBI informant within the pro-life movement, asking questions in light of the leak of the Supreme Court's draft opinion in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, in which a majority of justices overturned Roe v. Wade. He said his FBI superiors directed him to ask the informant about, quote, how they're going to attack abortion clinics and things of this nature. It's just corruption at the highest levels, folks. Though that is, in my humble opinion, maybe more of y'all will get it. That is what government, especially at the level, let's say, of the feds, is all about. Corruption is the system. Force and fraud is the system. Some people just play the game better than others. Also out today, this is from the Daily Wire, written up by Spencer Lindquist. CIA officer admits to undercover journalist that FBI agents attended January 6th protest at Capitol. When asked if the public will ever find out, the officer responded, nope, and they probably never will. An official with the agency told an undercover journalist that members of the FBI were in attendance at the protest at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. And he also highlighted methods that intelligence agencies use to disempower political opponents. Gavin O'Blennis, a self-proclaimed contracting officer for the agency and former member of the FBI, was caught on camera by an undercover journalist with Sound Investigations as he discussed January 6. O'Blennis claimed that former President Donald Trump incited a riot before going on to say that roughly 20 undercover FBI agents were in the crowd. Thought you said that there were FBI agents in the crowd at January 6th, the undercover journalist asked O'Blennis. There always are when there's a big protest in D.C., just in case it gets out of hand like that. There wasn't enough to turn that tide. I'm talking maybe 20. You needed 1,000 to get rid of that crowd just to go through to observe to see what they can hear, that kind of thing. The video also shows O'Blennis affirming that the FBI didn't want the public to know they had had agents embedded in the crowd and saying that he personally knows agents who were in attendance. They work for the agency now, he said about the former FBI agents, referring, of course, to CIA. Do people know that the Bureau was in the crowd? The undercover journalist asked. Nope. And they probably never will. But, let's just trust them to continue to use the FISA program to spy on Americans. Nobody cares? Anybody? Yeah, liberty's just that thing we talk about. We don't actually uphold it. I've got to watch, baseball tonight. Don't worry me with these things called my rights. Sure. And now, moving on, let's go to Alabama's own. We started with Senator Rand Paul talking about that COVID investigation and how all those agencies are sitting on information. Some took active measures to obscure the truth when they knew the truth. You now have, many members of the United States Senate sending a very intense letter. You ever gotten one of those, folks? You might think, somebody sent a letter. But if you've ever been on the receiving end of a letter with these sorts of powerful names, I'm seeing Tom Cotton, United States Senator. I'm seeing Dan Sullivan, who also is U.S. Senator, Rick Scott, Marsha Blackburn, Joni Ernst, Ted Budd, Kevin Kramer, Pete Ricketts. Oh, no, I don't want a letter from Pete Ricketts. Mike Braun, Ted Cruz, John Hoeven, Jerry Moran, James Langford. And look at that. Oh, that's a lovely signature. Katie Boyd Britt. So I guess they all pinned this together. And there's even more names. Tim Scott, Cynthia Loomis. It's a bunch of senators. Oh, there's Lindsey Graham. Lindsey, how you doing today? How you doing there, Lindsey?
Stop playing with it.
Yes, sir. I promise I will. Here's what they write. To Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. We write to you, inquiring how the Department of Defense is implementing Section 1250 of the fiscal year 2024 NDAA. This provision of law requires you to consider whether a NATO partner, quote, has achieved defense spending of not less than 2% of its gross domestic product, end quote, when weighing decisions related to U.S. military basing, training, and exercises within the alliance. We are committed to the historic NATO alliance and are encouraged that NATO countries collectively increase defense spending by 11% in 2023. However, a total of only 11 out of 32 NATO countries presently meet their defense spending commitments under the 2014 Wales and 2023 Vilnius summit declarations. According to optimistic estimates, 18 NATO nations are expected to meet their defense spending commitments this year. That means that barely half of the NATO members will meet the deadline to increase defense spending to a minimum of 2% of gross domestic product, a deadline that was self-imposed and agreed to by unanimous consent. Many wealthy NATO members have chronically shortchanged their own militaries and relied on other members of the alliance, particularly the United States, to make the investments necessary to achieve collective defense. The United States cannot be expected to satisfy its financial obligation if these other NATO members are unwilling or unable to do the same. Our government must hold these allies accountable. And Section 1250 of the fiscal year 24 NDAA is an important step in that direction. NATO is not a charity. It is a military alliance. All NATO members must bear a meaningful share of the burdens of collective defense. We therefore request an update, no later than April 25th, on how the DoD evaluates U.S. activities related to these members. I'm sure Lloyd Austin will get right on that. No, but the whole point of NATO is keep the U.S. in, Russia out, and Germany down. And there are a lot of free riders who understand, this isn't like the United States this is like a United States thing. Like, they're the true superpower here. So what are they going to do? Kick us out? Not defend us? If we don't do 2% of our GDP? I mean, and a lot of this stuff, like these alliances, are kind of more useful to the United States than a lot of us. So, yeah, we don't really have like peers in that sense. You think like, okay, we have an alliance with, say, Portugal. And you think, well, you know, if Portugal's attacked, the U.S. is going to come to their defense. If the United States attack Portugal, is going to come to their defense, not to diss the Portuguese or anything. But come on. It's not exactly an equal relationship. And everybody in the NATO alliance understands that. That so much of what we see, whether it's with the UN rules or trade rules or the IMF or NATO or a lot of these other security alliances, for the longest time has been an excuse for essentially American empire, Pax Americana. We're doing it our own way, in a very democratic way. But, you know, it's still an empire. Excuse me, pardon me. But we don't call ourselves that. We hate empire. Like, yeah, you and a bunch of other empires in history have eschewed the appellation. So just more from the tippy top of our politics. But I also have another story having to do with this. But it's going to provide me an opportunity to shut the hell up. Because we have here the one, the only coach. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The senior senator, U.S. senator from the great state of Alabama. This is Coach Tommy Tuberville. He is actually speaking directly to Secretary Austin and defense officials. Let's listen in together.
Hey, y'all. Secretary Austin, glad to have you back. You look like you in good playing shape. So I know you've had a tough couple months, but we are glad you're back. Secretary McCord, don't go to sleep on us over there. And I'm going to ask you a question. It's my understanding, the work that we've done, my staff, we have spent $300 billion since 2014 in Ukraine. Does that sound about right to you? I know that's before your time.
That does sound high to me. We did about 300 million a year for Ukraine for a number of years, and then just in the last 2 years we've done about 40. So if you're talking whole of government, it might be. I would have to check, but for DoD that does sound high.
Yeah. Well, my staff looked into it. About 300 billion. Their best guesstimate. Right now we're printing or borrowing $80,000 per second, 4.6 million a minute. We can't sustain that much longer. We got to find best ways to spend our money. The DOD inspector general has said that there's 50 criminal investigations going on right now from money sent to Ukraine. By the way, one of the most corrupt countries in the world.
Yep.
Are you familiar with that, Secretary Austin?
What I am familiar with is that we've given our Inspector General the access that he needs to be able to exercise oversight, and we've just increased his authorization in terms of number of people to have forward there. That's really important. But in terms of monies, specific monies that are being provided to Ukraine, we don't, as you know, Senator, we don't provide money. We provide security assistance in a way of equipment, munitions, and that sort of stuff. And we replenish, when we replenish the things that we've taken out of our own stocks to provide to Ukraine, that work comes through our industrial base. Companies in Alabama are helping to create the weapon systems to replace those systems that we provided to Ukraine. In terms of specific cases that the IG may be referring to, I don't have knowledge of that.
Yeah, I also want to remind you, we are building munitions in our country, and in Alabama we do build quite a few boats, submarines, missiles, and those things. But we do spend a lot of money out of the country on munitions because our industrial base is not near what it used to be. General, can Ukraine win?
Yes.
What does that look like?
Well, what we've said all along is we want to see Ukraine remain a sovereign, independent, and democratic state that has the ability to defend its sovereign territory and deter aggression. And that's been our aim from the very beginning, and it remains our aim. But yes, they can be successful.
I heard Secretary Blinken say last week in Brussels that Ukraine will soon be in NATO. You agree with that?
That's the goal of the NATO members, is to at some point bring Ukraine into NATO, and that's certainly something that Ukraine wants to see.
If you're Russia, would you want that? I'm just asking. I mean, we're playing games with Russia right now. I just want to understand why we would do that.
Certainly, if I was Russia, I would not want that, Senator. I would also not want Finland and Sweden to be a part of NATO, and they are. And the reason that they are is because Putin invaded his neighbor, and without provocation, without justification, and so that's why that's why we are where we are.
We're the United States. We smell like roses. No provocation at all. And I just hate that line. But keep going, Secretary.
Instead of making things better for himself, he had the effect of enlarging NATO, which obviously creates worse conditions for him.
Do we have 12 CIA bases in Ukraine? Can you answer that in this setting?
CIA bases?
I got this out of the New York Times, which I don't read very often, but
I'll defer that question to the director of the CIA, Senator.
Okay. All right. Thank you. General Brown, just a quick question. I've had the opportunity to travel bases all over the world since I've had this job 3 months or 3 years. Our morale is not very good. Our recruiting is really dropping. What are you doing to help solve that problem? We need a strong military. And a lot of them tell me, they say, basically, Coach, listen, we're taking all these classes, has nothing to do with killing our adversary. It's about getting along with each other. And I understand part of that. But we also need a killing machine. What's your answer to that?
Well, as I said in my opening statement, honing our warfighting skills has primacy in all we do. And part of it, building that joint warfighting team, is being able to build a team. And I know you're fully aware of that based on your background. And so it's the work that we do with each one of those service members to bring them and give them all the opportunity and full potential to make this the most lethal, combat credible force in the world.
How do we stop people from getting out of the military right
now? Senator, what I will tell you now, I can give you the numbers, but our retention right now across all the services is really good. Our recruiting is now.
I'd love to see that.
And our recruiting is also trending up here in the course of the past several weeks. I've sat down with recruiters from all the various services. I went to military entrance processing station here to talk to them about their process as well. Genesis was highlighted earlier. It's a system, and there's some things we could do better, and I gave them some feedback while I was there. And so recruiting is on the upswing. And the thing, last thing I'd close on is we need to talk about the value of service and talk about what it is to wear the uniform. And a great opportunity, whether you spend 4 years or 4 decades, is really important in what serving in our military or serving at all within our nation and the impact it can have. And I think that those are the things that we can continue to do together.
And I totally agree with you.
Again, that's Coach Tommy Tuberville talking to Lloyd Austin and head of the Joint Chiefs there. And Lloyd Austin, yeah, Ukraine can win. We'll see. Maybe y'all's asymmetric warfare plans will work out or something like that. But I just, that's what I said when I was trying to talk directly through my op-ed this week, my column this week, to Representative Mike Rogers. There are millions of Americans, we just don't believe you anymore. Because very often, especially folks in top leadership position, are not very forthcoming in admitting there are problems. Is that because, top brass have to play a political game? Whether you're in the military, in the Pentagon, or you're in the intelligence community? Possibly. But when you look at polling, when you look at how Americans feel about the military, they still love those who serve. But when they look at the missions those who serve are put on so often, they're not enthused. Not enthusiastic whatsoever. How about this, though? Let's hit a quick break. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Fresh deals, fresh inventory. Spring savings have sprung at Toyota of Montgomery. And we have a fresh new inventory of the new Toyotas you've been looking for. Take that spring trip in style, comfort, safety, and peace of mind in our huge selection of trucks, SUVs, and sedans. Drive the new 2024 Camry LE and lease for $299 a month. Or get low 3.99% APR financing. Spring out of your old car and into a new Toyota. And get up to $2,000 over book value for your trade. Or check out our fresh new inventory of certified pre-owned Toyotas that look, drive, and even smell brand new. Just don't wait. Spring offers end soon at Toyota of Montgomery. Online at toyotamontgomery.com. Part of the Sutherland Automotive Group. 3.99% APR financing for 36 months is $29.53 for 1,000 finance. MSRP $30,958. 12,000 miles per year for 36 months with 3638 due with finance. $0 security deposit with approved credit. Excessive wear, tear, and mileage may affect trade value. Plus tax, tag, title, and $995. Expires 4/30/24.
Well, I'm here with Miss Dot at the Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall. Well, Dot, spring is here.
We're heading into spring, and I'm so glad. We've got some furniture coming in, some spring and summer furniture. It's not coming in too fast, but it's beginning to trickle in. You know, we're just busy. That's all I can say, and I'm thankful for that.
It looks to me like you have a lot of items for outside.
We do. We've got the wrought iron furniture, patio things, and booth 70 in the window had a swing, and it was just beautiful. I expect he'll have another one, too.
You know, there are a lot of treasures in Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall to be found.
Yes, if you don't see it here, you didn't need it anyway.
All right, give us those hours of operation.
Monday through Friday is 10 until 6, Saturday 9 until 6, and Sunday 12:30 to 4:30.
That's the Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall, 425 Coliseum Boulevard.
What I like, and I do what I want.
Do what you want, be who you want, and elevate your game to fabulous at Wind Creek Atmore. Stay in our luxurious suites and rooms, relax in the tranquil spa, play any of our 1,700 exciting games on our spacious gaming floor. No matter what fabulous means to you, you'll find it here. Wind Creek Atmore. It's your kind of fabulous. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Live local talk, the River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back, folks. Let's go right to the phones and let's go to Station Wagon Pete. Hey, Pete, welcome to the show.
Hello there, Joey. I'm just touching base on the fact about the smoke and mirrors that Austin and the General Brown were putting out about their recruitment goals. I find that pretty hard to follow when I'm a retiree and they approach me to come back and do 16-month service.
Wow. Wait, so what service and how long ago did you retire?
I retired 24 years ago.
What? And they're asking you to come back?
That's the scuttlebutt that I've got from my veterans page. I may be too old to go back in, but the consensus amongst my veterans and they don't subscribe to the fact of all this DEI that's going on in the service, and not to mention that dress and appearance has gone out the window too. So I go to Maxwell Air Force Base, and most of them look like slobs.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because the military is the last major institution in this country that people still, a majority of Americans trust. And I tend to subscribe to the idea that there's something rotten at the very top. The way we got too many generals, I'll put it that way.
All you got to do is take a look at that General Milley.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
Yeah, he's some sort of role model for his officers to follow.
Right. I mean, what was your experience? Like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what service, where'd you end up?
Well, I did 20 years. I retired at 20 years. I was Air Force, traveled all around the world, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. If I had to go back and do it again, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Well, amen, and thank you for your service, and thank you for calling, Pete. I really do appreciate it.
Yes. You're welcome, Joey. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Yep. There are a lot of folks who are just sad to see the way things are going. And I'll just say, again, it's not that, the people are criticizing and the criticism is playing into it. No, people are seeing real problems. Very real problems. We don't seem to have the systems anymore that are ready to break the sort of groupthink and the bloated nature of our systems. That applies to the Pentagon and so many other institutions in this country. It's a crying shame. But here, we got to hit another break. We'll come back with a guy I've learned to just really, really, really like, named Mike Benz. And he puts his finger right on it, folks. Democracy is the watchword of the foreign policy establishment to overthrow foreign governments. Yep. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage.
And I'm Madeline Cannon. It's true, rates aren't as low as they have been for the past couple of years, but there are still many homeowners that could benefit from refinancing their current mortgage. There are a lot of things in life that are out of our control, but your mortgage rate is not one of them. If you currently have an adjustable rate mortgage, then you owe it to yourself to give us a call.
Adjustable rate mortgages make sense for some people in stable markets, but in this wild, ever-changing rate environment, it only makes sense to secure a fixed interest rate. A fixed interest rate will give you the peace of mind that your rate is locked. Your rate will not be subject to change with the political and economic tides.
At Alabama Home Mortgage, you can personalize your term. We offer 8-year to 30-year mortgages and everything in between. Grab your mortgage statement and give us a call.
Call Alabama Home Mortgage, the #1 mortgage lender in Alabama, today at 567-4223, or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. That's Alabama Home Mortgage, because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36A, Equal Housing Lender.
Honey, I got my bonus check today.
That's great, sweetheart.
Let's book that Hawaiian vacation right now.
Actually, I was thinking more like an electrical upgrade for our house.
What?
It's not all that glamorous, but updating your home's electrical system is a great investment, enhancing its value and your safety. The panel and wiring in most older homes were not designed to meet modern demands. The experts at Crosby Electric can update your system to give you peace of mind.
Sorry, honey, but I just want to feel safe in my own home.
Faulty wiring and electrical equipment are among leading causes of most home fires. Crosby Electric will make sure your panel, meter, circuit breakers, and receptacles are up to date.
I can just see us lying on the beach at Waikiki.
And I can see us lying in our own bed, knowing we're safe.
Okay, but next year...
I'll dance the hula in a grass skirt.
All right.
Sleep well with no electrical worries. For a free home assessment, visit crosbyelectric.com.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by H&H Carpets, where you will find a complete line of Mohawk carpet with exceptionally clean, smart strand fiber. It's always available and ready to be installed. H&H Carpets, across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Hi, everybody. We're dealing with a significant multi-hazard storm system well into the nighttime hours tonight. It'll be windy with widespread rain and thunderstorms. Flood watch in effect, locally excessive rainfall amounts, severe weather threat with all modes of severe weather possible. Tornadoes can't be ruled out. Our weather app will keep you on top of the action. Free in the App Store, search Rich Thomas Weather. Tonight's low 63, then some scattered leftover showers at times tomorrow, high in the lower 70s. Back to some really nice weather Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
At ASE Credit Union, financing your next adventure is easier than ever with rates as low as 5.25%. Apply online or visit your local branch today. Federally insured by the NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender.
ASE Credit Union. Your life, your goals, your ASE.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online, the River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. This part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. And there at Montgomery Men's Health, well, fellas, two things can happen as we get older, as men mature. Erectile dysfunction's one, issues in the bedroom, or low testosterone, which could be, in fact, causing those problems in the bedroom. Certainly not helping. And these are not things to deny, put off, be embarrassed about, and certainly not something to wait to get fixed. I know guys hate going to the doctor. I'm one of them. I don't like going to the doctor. But Montgomery Men's Health was created to take care of guys just like us. And the reality is, pills often quit working. Guys start making excuses for not coming to bed. And there are even studies now that show men will be more irritable and argumentative just before bed, just to avoid failing at intimacy. So come on, man. If you're lacking motivation, energy, drive, including a loss of sex drive, you're just always tired, feel like you're walking through your life in a fog, knowing whether you have low testosterone is huge in combating some of these issues. The providers of Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. Montgomery Men's Health has low T treatments that can truly change lives. Men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym, brother, better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism. You usually even notice an increased libido, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. You can actually book the same day that you call. Guys, time to feel amazing and hit your goals this year. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today. Now, as promised, let's go to Mike Benz. This guy, he's been talking with Tucker Carlson. He's been on a lot of different programs. He has been calling out the so-called censorship complex, the misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. We got to fight it. People might be saying things that are true that's inconvenient. People might be mistaken in what they're saying and what they believe. And, of course, the people to sort that out are experts the government hires. Or something like that. But you got to listen to the language the government professionals use. And that's what Mike Benz is going to talk about here, the language that they use.
And Mike, can you talk more specifically about what that looks like in practice?
Yeah, well, part of the issue is we're actually past that now. That was, as Ben said, how the initial predicate was laid down. This is something that I refer to as the foreign to domestic switcheroo. The initial censorship structure in this country grew out of what was called the hybrid warfare doctrine that NATO came up with after the Crimea annexation. And there was essentially a pan-military decision across NATO for the military to play a more active role in the media because they perceived a loss of hearts and minds in Eastern Europe as us ceding ground to Russia politically. And then when Brexit and the Trump election happened, the Russia Gate predicate was used to basically portray any sort of right-wing populism as being favorable for Russia, and then so could be censored on the basis of being Russian propaganda. The problem was when Russiagate died in the summer of 2019, when Mueller choked on the stand in the hearing, they instead of shutting down that censorship apparatus that joined together the FBI and the CIA and DOD and State Department, They simply changed the predicate from being a Russiagate predicate to a democracy predicate. And this is very nasty because democracy is the watchword of the foreign policy establishment to overthrow governments. I'm just going to say that again. Democracy is the watchword of the foreign policy establishment to overthrow governments. So we have had a lot of presidents, Republican presidents, who have been tarred by left-wing media as being, bad people, dictators. People were calling George Bush a Nazi and things like that. I remember in my lifetime, they were not calling him a threat to democracy. That triggers when something is categorized as a threat to democracy by our government. What that does, it's like an immune system response that activates for the white blood cells of our blob to descend the NGO swarm, the university centers, which act as proxies by the government, are all funded by our federal government, for DOD counterintelligence, for the State Department to get involved, for the FBI, for DHS, they all descend on it. And they use their media organs as well. Much of what we think about as being independent media is anything but. They depend, and we can go through this in more detail maybe in questions, but this surround sound is a creation of this immune system, and the fact that it no longer, even though it was created under this foreign policy national security predicate, we are now about 4 or 5 years past that. And I'll give you just one great example to leave this off on. The number one funder right now of the censorship industry in the U.S., and not the number one necessarily most, top of the food chain, but who's providing the actual money, the civil society capacity building for domestic censorship mercenary firms, is the National Science Foundation, which is basically the kissing cousin of DARPA. And National Science Foundation is the number one. It's the number one funder of all secondary research in the U.S. $10 billion goes to our universities, the National Science Foundation. They created a program which used a democracy. They created 2 programs actually during the Biden administration, which simply said misinformation is a threat to democracy. And so they've given over $60 million just in the past year to specially constructed censorship labs, they call them, counter misinformation labs within universities. It's now a growing profession where undergraduates and PhD students are staking their professional careers on the rise of the censorship industry. And it's all constructed around a democracy predicate, which again simply means the control and the ability to overthrow a government who's not doing the bidding of the U.S. foreign policy establishment.
Yep. Exactly right. Sorry. Democracy does not mean you have a right to violate people's rights. And yet that's what it's become. In so many ways. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Come see how you can drive a new Lexus from Lexus of Montgomery today. Drive the new 2024 Lexus ES350, now only $353 a month. Or choose the new 2023 Lexus RZ450E for only $3 a month. You can drive a new Lexus today. Visit Lexus of Montgomery, part of the Sutherland Automotive Group.
VIN number RU1777074, $4,995 to its sign. VIN number PB02044, $3,700 to its sign. 36 months, 10K mile lease with approved credit plus tax, tag title, duck fee.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heater. leaders. Remember, when you have trouble with your bull, call on Cole.
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. And I think we have Ray Bowles and a lot of team members from Prattville Carpet. Hey, fellas, how y'all doing this afternoon?
We're doing great. I got Pancho and Chad in the truck, and Angie's trying to call me. She said, "No, it's 3 o'clock. I'm on the radio."
Oh, my goodness. What a car crash.
I know. Well, Pancho needed a break from the van, so I went and put him on our account. Then next week he's going to forget about it. He's like, "Well, no, what are you talking about? I don't know about anything like that." But hey, listen, I know it's a stormy day and it's wet out and everybody's already home from school. If you don't have waterproof flooring in your home, you really need to call us at 285-8117. Hey, shut that door. Venture just got out and didn't shut the door right. It'll be dinging on me all the way over to the house. So we're headed, me and Chad are headed over to another house to measure it real quick.
There you go.
And get this taken care of. But really, this water-resistant flooring is the best thing on the market, including carpet. So call us today, 285-8117. We'll come out and give you that free measurement.
It's just that simple, just that easy, folks. Again, that number for Prattville Carpet, 285-8117. And be sure to tell them when you call 285-8117 that you heard Ray and the team on with that Joey fella on the radio.
Hey, y'all have a great day.
You too, Ray. Let's go to Crawdad. Hey, Crawdaddy.
Being that you just talked to that gentleman, I never can forget what a good job they did helping me out with some product. It was fantastic.
Awesome. Great to hear.
On your previous caller, Pete, Air Force, thank you, sir.
Yes.
On this thing about TikTok, all it is another tool of psychological warfare. Don't feed into that daggum toy on your phone or your computer called TikTok and tell your kids get the hell away from that stuff.
Well, and to quote Lindsey Graham of all folks,
stop playing with it.
Because that's about the equivalent of what you're doing.
My goodness.
Oh, that's not how I meant it.
It's not just about
I understand what the joke was, and they're playing with us with the PSYOPs, with our computers.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that Mike Benz guy just laid it out there in 3.5 minutes beautifully. I got to get that fellow on the show. What a wealth of information.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate the call, Crawdad. Great hearing from you, man.
Thank you.
And with that, we're pretty much out of time here, folks. But y'all can stay tuned here to 93.1 FM WACV. Greg Budell and Rosie, well, they're next with Happy Hour.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.